As with most news reports, that land is now shrouded in the panic and despair of the spreading virus. Most people in the city are staying indoors, and in the countryside, there are no more campfires or people dancing around them. One by one, in the cold, dark night, they firmly locked their families inside the house, peering out with vigilant eyes, scanning the outside situation in front of the windows. Of course, there are also many mountain villages that have fallen into an even more terrifying despair. Infected by the virus, they are sealed off by the military, quietly waiting for the arrival of death. At this moment, a remote village is suffering such treatment. A group of soldiers armed with AKs surrounds the entire village, vigilantly watching every corner, not allowing anyone inside to have the slightest chance of escaping. Even though they were facing a group of unarmed villagers, these soldiers did not relax in the slightest. These villagers not only have to endure the immense physical pain brought by the virus, but also calmly face this lifeless ending. In this atmosphere of extreme despair, people often resort to actions that are countless times more terrifying than usual. This is not an exaggeration, as many villages had already seen their troops perish in the midst of riots by desperate villagers before they were sealed off, and the reason was merely a moment of leniency. The soldiers on guard duty rotate shifts, and it is currently change over time. A burly black man, armed, approached a slender soldier standing near the western village entrance. "Hey, Prado, how are you doing?" The big man greeted him, as if he were quite familiar with that person. Currently, everything is fine, and it seems that everyone's emotions have settled down. The man named Prado is quite slender, which doesn't seem to match his name that evokes the image of a Japanese land cruiser. The slender man looks somewhat tired, but still, be careful. The more peaceful it is, the more likely it is to erupt all of a sudden. "Oh, by the way, where is the thing I need?" "Did you get it? Oh, you mean that?" The burly man smiled upon hearing this, revealing a set of distinctively white teeth, and pulled out a neatly packaged box. On it, in English, it was labeled, "Marvel's product." "I hadn't noticed before, but you actually have a girlish heart for Iron Man in pink?" Prado gave him a glance, snatched the box away, glanced at the Iron Man model figure inside the packaging, and carefully tucked it into his chest. This item had been on his sister, Nissan's, wish list for nearly half a year. He hoped that this belated toy might lift her spirits a bit. Gazing at the other's careful handling, as if afraid of creasing the packaging, the burly man helplessly sighed. "For the little kid?" Prado softly agreed, not liking to share family matters with his comrades. "Children all love superheroes." The big man lit a cigarette, his voice taking on a melancholic tone. "But in this world, there has never been any heroes." Prado. However, that's not something you can say to a child. Seeing the silent, burly man not caring, he smoked by himself and said, "Actually, I quite like superheroes myself. Sometimes, I think it would be great if there really was a group of such guys." "Do you want Iron Man to save you?" Prado answered reluctantly. "No." The burly man grinned, "I want to be the Green Giant and smash this place to pieces." Ha ha. Prado smiled for a rare moment, but his smile froze on his face the next second, because he saw a legendary green face appear behind his comrade. "Hey, bro, can I have one, please? Someone escaped using this?" In the base, Shiyu's eyes nearly bulged out of her helmet as she pointed at the teleporter within the base. The transmitter was set up for this mission, and the location was almost fine-tuned. However, the intelligent report said someone had activated this device, and the intelligence failed to shut it down in time, so several players were transported away like that. Intelligence, Lord, do not get excited. I'm so excited. Beneath the Seiya helmet, his handsome face was full of lines. By the way, wasn't that machine hidden in the basement? How did the player find it? Intelligence, the Lord must have underestimated the exploratory abilities of those players. This base, except for that forbidden restroom of yours, or has not been thoroughly explored by the players. The septic tank is visited by countless players every day, and many of them are looking for treasure chests inside. Shiyu, can't you set up some restrictions? Intelligence, I have set it up. This intelligence system has specifically marked a very stern warning on the transmitter. Seiya heard the words and looked over, seeing a very prominent red font on the transmitter. Strict warning, this device is extremely dangerous. Do not touch it, especially the red button on top. Pressing it will be at your own risk. P.S. It's really very dangerous. Please don't press it randomly. Following behind, the rain woman with no connection saw this so-called warning and her eyelid twitched, feeling that this intelligence must be deliberate. Huh? She drew her brow, stroking her chin as she said, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? Intelligence, right? Rain has nothing to do with me, just shook my, I really don't know how to. Can such paper really become a lord? Cough. This intelligent being thinks that since the matter has already occurred, it's no longer meaningful to argue over whose fault it was. Isn't it better to think about how to make amends instead? Shiyu continued to furrow her brow, eventually nodding. That's also true. Rain has no gua is once again shocking. Really just like that? Hey. Your intelligence is too easy to take on? His, however, it is essential to continue to such incidents from occurring. Perhaps we should enlarge the warning mark, or maybe placing a skull would make it seem more serious? Intelligence, Lord, indeed you are wise. What a wise guy you are. I can't stand it anymore, so I quickly interjected, Lord, couldn't this thing be placed with electromagnetic isolation like your room? Can you release the master early? Shiyu turned around and looked at Yu Wugua. Space devices are generally guarded by humans. If you release the energy shield, it's easy to disturb the magnetic field, causing the transmission coordinates to deviate. Do you think the master wouldn't think of this? Are you really thinking the master is foolish? Rain has nothing to do with it. Suppressing the urge to, she patiently and weakly suggested, Lord, wouldn't it be wise to consider placing the teleporter with Uncle's on? Xanda? He's usually very busy. Isn't it a bit inhumane to delegate work to him in such a busy situation? Oh, this lord actually knows how to be considerate of his employees? You knew Wu Guo's expression softened slightly. It seems he does have some merits after all. Just about to say something when Shiyu continued, what if he demands overtime pay from the boss? Maybe you should keep an eye on it? After all, you don't need to log off these few days. I have nothing to do with it. Ah hick aha. Outside a village in South Africa, a 3-meter-tall green giant spat out a mouthful of smoke, his face contorting into one of enjoyment. Wow, old man, this smoke tastes really good, much better than my $7 a pack Hong Xuanxi. This game is F***king awesome, it even simulates the feeling of smoking, there's no justice if it doesn't become a hit, huh? Oh, hey, bro, you wanna have a drag too? A green titan beside him turned coldly, ignoring him directly. Prado and his comrades stared blankly at the two green giants before them. This world actually has a Hulk, and there are 2 of them? Am I not awake? Isn't Hulk supposed to be a creation of North American imagination? Even if he does exist, shouldn't he speak English? Yet, the accent sounds a bit like a big brother from central China, almost with a Sichuan dialect. And what is that thing twisting around next to them, looking like a pile of shit? A turd alien? Hey, buddy, give me another one. Oh, just barely understanding the Huazhong dialect, but Prado hurriedly handed over a cigarette to the big shot and even lit it for him. In the federal context, the relationship between South Africa and Central China has always been good. Many Central Chinese people have traveled to South Africa to help with poverty alleviation and railway construction, and we are relatively familiar with their language and accent. Oh, thanks, bro. Green Titan snagged another one and looked at another comrade. You sure you don't want one? No such habit. After rolling his eyes and shaking his head, the Green Titan said. A glance at the outline was enough to recognize that the one shaking his head was Dog Brother, and the one smoking was the number 1 on the among the Green Titan players now, Liver Emperor. Then, what about Lu Leoi? The Liver Emperor asked, pointing to a wiggling blob of green siang below. No smoking. Lu Leoi swayed his crooked and twisted body and said, this phoenix is still developing. What if it becomes malformed if I smoke? What's wrong? Liver Emperor furrowed his brow and asked, how could it not? Lu Leoi jumped and said, what if this game promotes the dangers of smoking? With the current situation being so tense, isn't it a good idea to show some positive energy to avoid being blocked by 404? Sort of makes sense. The Liver Emperor nodded upon hearing this, extinguished the cigarette in his hand, and then looked around. By the way, where is this? Is this a game map? How do I know? Lu Leoi couldn't help but give the other person a cold glance. It's clearly written as dangerous, don't press it, but you had to press it, and even brought us all along. Now, we don't even know how to go back. If we encounter a red-named monster and die, I'll have to start over from scratch. And is it easy for me, old man Lu, to turn into a phoenix? I tell you, if I die and have to return to the city, you'll have to compensate me for changing into a different species next time. Anxious, what's all the fuss about? It's not like we've encountered a monster yet, right? The Liver God impatiently said, besides, can that even be called a warning? What's the difference between that and those girls on TV who, when they encounter a flower thief, keep saying don't while hiding on the bed? It's just that they're trying to get us to press the button, isn't it? Lu Leoi. Don't worry, based on my many years of gaming experience, this temporary instance should be triggered, and who knows, there might even be a reward after completing the task. This when Lu Leoi and Goku heard about the reward, their eyes twinkled slightly. As the saying goes, a horse without night grass won't fatten up. It's probably difficult to pull ahead and become a high-level player by constantly competing with other players to mine and farm. Looking at it this way, this trigger-based task might be an opportunity. In those games, the main characters gradually pull ahead of ordinary players through tasks like these. Thinking of this, Lao Yi gradually put away his dissatisfaction, hesitated for a moment, and said, you do have a point. Well, based on your years of gaming experience, where should we go to accept the task? This is simple. The Liver Emperor stood up upon hearing this, pointed to the village ahead, and said, there's a village up there, go in and look for someone with an exclamation mark on their head. No. At the village entrance, sensing the intentions of the few, the Prado quickly intercepted them and said in a clumsy Huazhong dialect, their virus can't enter. Virus? Liver Emperor paused for a moment, then clapped his hands and said, oh, I get it, it's a biohazard mode, calling us to fight the zombies. Dog Brother smirked, you figured it out again? Is this common, you ask? The Liver Emperor stroked his chin seriously as he analyzed, generally, zombie games start with this kind of setup. There's a remote village where the villagers have been infected with a virus, and outside, there's a group of soldiers armed with guns but completely ineffective in battle. Then the virus breaks out, and a cutscene shows these useless soldiers collapsing. That's when we take over the game. Is it true or not? Dog Brother and Lu Leoi furrowed their brows, feeling that this guy wasn't very reliable. What are they saying? The Black Giant asked, as he turned to Prado, who knew a bit of Chinese. Prado furrowed his brow, hesitated for a moment, and whispered, you spoke too fast, and I didn't catch much, but it seems like you were calling me a useless loser with no combat power. Hey! The big guy's eyes widened with anger, but then he thought about it. In the Avengers, even the god Loki was called a loser by Hulk. This loser, coming from the mouth of the strongest Avenger, it didn't seem like such a shameful thing, after all. Then, she laughed and seemed to let it go. Amidst this inexplicable atmosphere, suddenly, from the position of the Shicun entrance, a middle-aged woman, supporting her swollen body, stumbled out. Ha! Look, something's wrong. With his superior night vision, Lu Yi quickly noticed and exclaimed, who's going up? I'm coming. The Liver Emperor abruptly stood up, grabbing a half-person high rock beside him and said, let this rock from the Emperor first test the waters. No. Seeing the situation, the Prado hurriedly intercepted them. Are you both retarded? Did you not see the little girl being held by someone's hand? How despicable of you. The dog brother gave them a cold glance from the side. Ha! Upon hearing the words, the two took a closer look and only then noticed that the woman was leading a thin, small girl behind her. Step back, go back immediately, villagers. The burly man turned on the flashlight, his face becoming stern all of a sudden. Beside him, the Prado, after using a flashlight to see the person, whispered, "It's Sister Pugina, the nun from the convent next to this village, who is also a doctor. She came to help with medical aid voluntarily and unfortunately contracted the virus. She is a person worthy of respect." He glanced at the Liver Emperor and the others again, speaking cautiously, "Can you all step back a bit? I'm afraid that Miss Pugina might be startled upon seeing you. After all, not everyone here has seen the Avengers. Surprise? What does that mean?" The Liver Emperor hesitated and looked towards his two teammates behind him. "Lule Oi, you're too ugly, move back a bit. Don't scare anyone else. Liver Emperor, are you wanting me to send you back to the city for free again? You dare." Lule Oi recalled the bitter history of being trampled to death by the other party on the way back, his eyes turned red, and he was just short of rushing forward to bite the other person. "Hey! The Liver Emperor, keep dancing, and see if I dare not?" Here, amidst the squabbling among several players, Prado signaled to his teammates to dim the flashlight so it wasn't as blinding and then shouted, "Miss Pugina, please don't get any closer." The woman halted her steps upon hearing the sound, forcing a faint smile on her face, and made a gesture of blessing from God. Now, however, she is infected with the virus, her entire face is swollen, and it is covered with festering sores. The smile she manages to out is so twisted and menacing that it sends a shiver down the spines of Lule Oi and Gandhi, who cannot help but ask Dog Brother, "Are you sure this isn't a zombie?" Dog rolled his eyes and simply didn't bother to reply to them. "Oh, don't worry, gentlemen." The woman rasped, "I have no malice, nor am I seeking to escape. I am here to discuss an extremely important matter." "Is it important?" Prado and his teammates exchanged glances and ultimately maintained a distance, saying, "Please go ahead and say what you need to, but do not make any extreme moves so as not to harm the child." This can be said to carry a strong warning tone. It means that if you take any extreme action, even if it could accidentally harm the child, we will shoot. Cough cough. The woman coughed heavily, spitting a mouthful of blood onto the ground. The blood emitted a foul smell. Seeing her in this state, Paulo's eyes revealed a hint of compassion. Who could have imagined that the woman, who looked like a demon now, was just a couple of weeks ago the goddess that every man in this tribe secretly fantasized about? This child, the nun gasped for a while, and the little girl behind her, understanding, patted her back. After finally catching her breath, she reached out and weakly grabbed the child behind her, saying, "This child, she has defeated the demon." "What did you say?" The Prado and that big guy were taken aback, somewhat unresponsive. She defeated the demon, defeated the plague spread by this demon." The nun exclaimed with emotion. "Don't get excited, stand right there and speak slowly." Prado suppressed his excitement and tried to remain calm. "Brother, what does she mean?" The burly man asked blankly. Prado whispered back, "She said the child defeated the plague." "What? This child?" The nun took the girl's hand and said, "A few days ago, like us, she contracted the virus and it worsened, but thank God, this child was blessed by God, and she pulled through." "Really?" The burly man exclaimed with excitement. The Prado beside him was more cautious, stopping the excited teammates, and calmly asked, "What evidence do you have to prove that she was infected with the virus and then recovered?" In the face of skepticism, the nun paid no heed and excitedly pulled back the little girl's sleeve. "Look, these boils on her hand are beginning to dry and harden, and they're visibly starting to subside. And look at her complexion, it's getting closer and closer to that of a healthy person. This is the first time I've seen this symptom in 2 months, and it's definitely a sign of recovery. Please notify the authorities immediately and collect her serum." The strong man, upon hearing this, brought the flashlight a little closer, and upon seeing the little girl's expression and the nearly faded sore on her hand, his hand holding the flashlight trembled uncontrollably. "Bro, she really does seem to be telling the truth." "Ah." Prado nodded upon hearing this, a flicker of realization passing through his eyes as he murmured, Finally, is all of this about to be over? Hurry, quickly notify the higher-ups." "All right." The strong man, upon hearing this, excitedly turned on the intercom. "Soldier stationed at B351 has an important event to report. Please connect me to the superior. Please connect me to the superior." After about a minute, a low male voice came over the walkie-talkie. "Received, I am Captain Zaha. Please, soldier, report the major incident you mentioned." On the other side, a soldier in military uniform adorned with a captain's rank hurried into the command center of the temporary base stationed in this area. "What did you say? Someone has recovered from the infection?" A black man with a stocky build stood up, looking surprised. "Yes, sir." The captain, with a look of excitement, said, "The soldier reported that it has been preliminarily confirmed, and now we are requesting that we protect the little girl and send her to the Zwanni Medical Center for further confirmation." "Oh, Allah protect us." Upon hearing this, the black officer excitedly rubbed his hands and walked back and forth, then said, "This matter is of great importance. It cannot be leaked at will. Besides your base, who else knows about this?" "Only myself and the 2 soldiers responsible for reporting from Zikunku." The soldiers applied for a report bypassing the chain of command, and as soon as I received the message, I came to report to you immediately. Bang! As the words fell, the excited captain immediately collapsed, his expression of excitement still etched on his face before death, his eyes filled with hope, as if he saw the future of his country's restoration of peace. "Well, that's good." The officer's expression turned cold, and he slowly retracted the pistol from its holster, staring silently at the S-body on the ground that didn't react even to death for 2 seconds, before picking up the phone on the desk. Clap, clap. Ah, you too, be gentle. Oliver Emperor and Dog Brother were momentarily stunned, then they exclaimed, oh, and spread out their palms, looking at the sticky mass on them. You see, this game is too realistic, even mosquitoes are in it. Look at how they've bitten our Lulu Elder, leaving him with a head full of bumps. Dog Brother, do you know that's a head? The Liver Emperor, could it be the foot? Lu Leoi, upon hearing this, furiously twisted his own body. At this moment, the top of his upper body spiral, which was also the position of his head, was reddened by a slap from each of the two burly men. Cave, fucking hell, are these two bastards on purpose? To swat a mosquito, why do they have to hit so hard? As to why it can't come by itself but needs someone else to swat the mosquito's nonsense, it doesn't have hands, how can it? Have you ever seen shit drive away flies by itself? Why doesn't a mosquito bite you too? Lu Leoi said with extreme imbalance. Ding, but I can't seem to ding it. He pointed to his arm. Look. Lu Leoi looked carefully upon hearing this, and under the thin moonlight, it took him several seconds to clearly see that the Hepatitis Emperor's arm was actually covered with mosquitoes. However, due to this guy's excessively strong and dense hair, which was also hard and over an inch long, those mosquitoes struggled for a long time but couldn't get in. It was only after some finally managed to squeeze in that they discovered, damn, this skin is even harder than the hair. Look, you elves often say we are tough-skinned and thick-fleshed. Now do you know the benefits of being tough-skinned and thick-fleshed? Lu Leoi. Dog Brother glanced outside, and two soldiers, excited like monkeys, asked, what are they so happy about? Did they find money? I don't know, what is being said? I can't understand a word of it. What country's language is this? There's no subtitle translation, how am I supposed to play this? Even Lao Yi is baffled. Just like that. Dog Brother slapped his thigh and said, I just realized that intelligence seems to be gone too. What's going on? The Liver Emperor stroked his chin and analyzed, perhaps it was the designer's intention, wanting players to experience this feeling of being isolated, to let us explore the tasks ourselves, with high freedom. That might not be like those Korean-style games, where you have to search the entire map for people with exclamation marks on their heads. Dog Brother, this is hard to understand. How can we explore? Liver Emperor, humph, kid, wasn't there a translator just now? Look, this is the clue, right? Why would there be a black guy who speaks Mandarin in central China? There must be a reason for that. Dog Brother and Lu Leoi heard this and clicked their tongues. Upon hearing what this guy had to say, it seemed like he had a point, but from pressing the button to now, this guy had made quite a few seemingly reasonable arguments, yet none of them had come true. Hey, that guy over there, come here. The liver god roared over there without waiting for his teammates' consent. Prado, who was dancing and cheering with his teammates, only then reacted to the deep voice. Oh, there are still a few tricky characters over there. Two excited expressions suddenly froze, and they exchanged a glance, each revealing a trace of concern in their eyes. Regardless of whether those guys are actually Avengers or not, it doesn't seem like a good thing for them to be here at this moment, especially that big guy who just mentioned praying for Hulk to smash everything up here. I'd almost like to slap him twice. You said you're so mouthy? The nun curiously glanced in that direction, thinking to herself, are there still people here? Why are they hiding behind the trees and that shadow, it's so fat? Hello. Prado finally decided not to make a scene, cautiously drawing closer and nervously asked, gentlemen, what is it that you need? Liver Emperor, hey, what are you all so happy about? Tell us and we can be happy together too. Prado's expression tightened. In the absence of understanding the other party's intentions, how could he dare to bring up this matter? What if their purpose was not pure? Nothing. What's up? The Liver Emperor's face turned dark, and he clenched his fist, saying, young man, are you not giving fat tiger face to me? Let me tell you, if I hit you with this heavy punch, you might die. Dog Brother, truly there's not much, Prado stubbornly said, it's just to take a look. Look? What are you looking at? It's just take a casual look. Prado has been struggling to find the right words, only able to speak in vague terms. Take a casual look? The three players' expressions froze, first glancing at each other, then at the little girl pushed out by the nun from a distance, combining this with the fact that the nun seemed to have said something when she pushed out the little girl, and then the two of them danced excitedly like monkeys. They suddenly understood everything. Oh, so that's what the plot was all about. Wow, what a big scale. This little kid looks younger than my cousin, in central China. They might be in the 4th grade at most. Liver Emperor, hey, the environment is bad, everyone has a need to vent. You think it's like where we are, with shops everywhere outside the military unit? Lu Leoi, humph, severe crackdown, don't talk nonsense. Liver Emperor, what are you thinking about? I said, the internet cafe. I don't believe it, can it be opened outside the military unit? Ahem, regardless, the main storyline has emerged. Mainline? Dog Brother and Lu Leoi were taken aback, feeling that their thoughts were lagging behind. How on earth did this guy figure out the mainline? Can't you see? The Liver Emperor looked down on them with disdain. How could a game that excessively emphasizes spreading positive energy allow such a crazy thing to happen? It must be to have us stop it, otherwise, why would they send us here to act out such a big scene? Isn't this something you passed over out of impatience? This is not important, brothers, keep up with the big brother's pace, get ready to snatch people. Dr. Filler, is there any progress yet? Meanwhile, at the Wakanda Medical Center's laboratory, the city magistrate has already come to inquire about the progress for the 4th time. Haven't you just been here yesterday? If there's progress, wouldn't I report it to you first? Do you have nothing else to do? Although understanding the other person's feelings, the doctor also began to feel some impatience due to frequent interruptions. But one must admit, techs are awesome, one general said, just. After being rebuked, The total length showed no sign of embarrassment, merely smiling and not taking it to heart, continuing shamelessly, no progress at all? Philip, called by that name, had no temper left for such a fellow. He helplessly sighed, took off his gloves, and led the general to the report room. It has been detected that this should be a composite evolutionary virus, artificially engineered based on the Ebola virus prototype. Artificial? The constant smiling expression on the total length's face slightly sank, muttering, indeed so. I have applied for the original Ebola serum in the central China region, and it is expected to arrive tomorrow. The general heard this news and nodded in agreement. In fact, when it comes to medical expertise and research on the virus, the North American and Western European regions are significantly stronger. Even the Eastern Asian region's medical capabilities are more robust than those in Central China. However, Central China is the safest and most stable among all the factions in the Federation. Over the years, his reputation abroad has been excellent, which makes this regional leader in South Africa very confident that they are absolutely not included in this conspiracy. You're either busy all day or pay more attention to various intelligence. See if there are any people who have naturally formed antibodies. That's what you should be doing now, not constantly pestering me for progress. Filler said with a bad mood. Is it really that simple? The elder brother, upon hearing this. In recent days, I have frequently received messages about peripheral villages being annihilated by gunfire due to riots. However, it is unclear whether the real cause of the villagers' riots is true or if there are other reasons. He is thousands of miles away and has some difficulty explaining it. He knows that many are watching the situation here, everyone wanting to make a profit from war, and it's likely that countless forces have been secretly seeking those with natural antibodies. Just yesterday, he received intelligence that the 5 strongest mercenary groups in the Federation have quietly infiltrated this land. Feeling increasingly heavy-hearted, he couldn't help but ponder, how much more suffering must his compatriots endure before they can see the dawn? 5 elite mercenary guilds? Is there such a thing? The Rain Woman at the base, receiving the first-hand intelligence transmitted by the intelligence system, was somewhat taken aback. How come I've never heard of them before? But then she reacted, oh right, those with walls set up. See, yeah, I was somewhat curious. What is the difference between this and the ordinary army units targeted in training? Intelligence, somewhat different. According to intelligence, these 5 troops may possess some skills that ordinary humans do not have. What skills? Rain has nothing to do with me, and she meets by coincidence on the same path. Lacking specific intelligence, the AI activated a virtual interface, displaying the gathered information. Many are mere rumors, saying that these 5 teams are well trained, with a nearly 100% probability of completing their missions, and each possesses supernatural abilities. Supernatural abilities? Rain has nothing to do with it, her eyes lighting up. X-Men? Dragon Group? The Round Table's 12 Knights? In an instant, she brainstormed every organization she could think of. You mentioned these things, though their names may vary, they should all be present. The intelligent response said, is it true or not? The Rain has nothing to do with me, and her eyes sparkled as she asked, is there a wolf brother in Arthur? Intelligence, that's hard to say. She held her hands together, her gaze steady, saying nothing, but in her heart she muttered, damn it, what are they talking about? I can't understand a word of it, you wretch. The most well-documented should be the 4th-ranked China.Virtual Mercenary Corps, which has a history of over 2 centuries. It is rumored that several major magnates secretly support it, and it is composed entirely of top-level Jianan from the Red Sun district. Their individual combat capabilities are extremely strong, and they have an excellent reputation in the mercenary community. As long as the payment is received, they rarely fail to complete tasks. If the task is not completed by the deadline, the Mercenary Corps will refund the hiring fee 5-fold. Wow, even the upper-level ninjas are here? Rain Woman has no connection. Keep eating the melon in shock. 5 times the hiring compensation? Shiyu, however, is concerned about another point. So confident? The Universal Great Federation also has mercenary teams, but I've never heard of any mercenary team being so confident. Is it a ninja from an anime? Intelligence, indeed confident, and according to the information from the D-Ball Dark Web, this mercenary group has not made a mistake in 100 years. Rain has nothing to do with it. Can the ninja perform the art of stealth? Does he have a Sharingan? Can he open the 8 gates of? Shiyu, this sounds quite tricky. It seems we need to increase the intensity of our training. Rain has nothing to do with Melon. Hey, you two, don't ignore me. Noisy Shiyu tapped the head of Yunu Wugu, and finally couldn't help but ask, what kind of ninja is that? It's raining cats and dogs, knocking my head so hard it aches. Just as I was about to lose my temper, I heard the Lord also asked about this issue, and I immediately fell silent. Intelligence immediately changed the screen. The ninja, an ancient profession from the East District of the D-Ball Federation, somewhat resembling the characteristics of the Federation's shadowy figures, is a type of assassin who masters mysterious skills, but whether or not they have mastered the shadow energy is unknown. You didn't say that planet was a materialist civilization before? Shiyu furrowed her brow and asked. Intelligence, the dominant trend is materialism, but there was also a tendency towards idealism 1,000 years ago. The ancient 4 civilizations in history all had opportunities to develop in this direction. In ancient times, humans also believed in spiritual civilization, and the Gaia consciousness of the planet gradually became influenced by numerous beliefs, giving rise to some purely spiritual entities. If these spiritual entities had continued to evolve for several thousand more years and formed consciousness, the situation might have been completely different from what it is now. Sia nodded upon hearing this. After a planet produces a high-intelligence life form, whether to follow materialism or idealism is actually a choice in the great historical trend. Idealism holds that the spirit exists before matter, while materialism is the opposite. As to which one is right or wrong, to be honest, even the senior scholars of the Galactic Federation cannot determine it to this day, because no one can know whether Gaia first developed consciousness after the formation of the planet's core, or if the existing spiritual consciousness gathered to form the planet's core. Idealism prevailing can lead to a proliferation of religions, and people will also pursue personal transcendence more, making it easier to produce highly intense life forms. Conversely, the early route of materialism tends to weaken the individual, pursuing material evolution, leading to rapid advancements in technology. Cie, who was unfamiliar with the history of this planet, was curious, listening to the intelligent explanation. The female onlooker beside her was also eagerly listening. Intelligence continued. Long ago on this planet, the rule of kings replaced that of gods. The restrictions and even persecution by the ruling class over supernatural beings led to the slow development of conscientiousness. Taking central China as an example, during the Tang dynasty, the royal family's extermination of evildoers resulted in a dearth of talents in this field. During the Ming dynasty, the targeted and covert weakening of the Taoist sects such as Wudong, Amei, and Kunlun, which believed in cultivating advanced life forms, was restricted, preventing their development. This left a multitude of humans who had not fully evolved completely unable to confront the emerging materialist forces. Later on, as everyone knows, writing about this would be severely punished, and thus the flame of this idealistic civilization naturally extinguished. She nodded continuously, while Yu Nu Wuguo listened in a daze, unable to help but question, are all these things you made up? Shiyu, can there still be supernatural powers in such a major trend? A planet, for a spiritualist civilization to rise, must have a vast amount of genuine faith. This faith is awakened by the spiritual consciousness of life, triggering the Gaia consciousness of the planet and creating a synergy. Under the mass belief of life forms, the dormant Gaia consciousness is driven to evolve into some genuine indigenous deities, with this spiritual entity as a medium for guidance. The energy fluctuations of the world also become active under the mass belief. This leads to the strengthening of individual lives. After life becomes stronger, the energy within continues to grow. After death, this energy returns to the heavens and earth, further increasing the density of the planet's energy. Through generations of accumulation, a fantasy world gradually takes shape. But if faith is suppressed, it will develop in an entirely different direction. Shiyu also checked whether there were any large spiritual entities on this planet, that is, the existence of the indigenous deities. It can almost be said to be extremely faint, just a tiny bit of incomplete spiritual entities scattered across various regions of Debal, most of which even lack consciousness, let alone changing this world. In the terminology of the fantasy world, it would be without divine essence. But in this situation, the Debal people could still tap into supernatural powers with just a tiny bit of faith energy, leaving Shiyu to marvel at the extraordinary talent of this planet's people. In my heart, I am also relieved that the people on this planet have not developed into a direction of idealism. Otherwise, what would have become of him? Materialism, the Lord would only have to face the backward technology of the indigenous planet, but idealism, you might have to confront the indigenous deities of that planet, born of faith, that exceed the 10th level. Of course, that doesn't mean materialism is bad. In fact, in terms of development speed, materialism far surpasses idealism. However, the prerequisite is that the people on that planet can unify their thoughts as soon as possible and set sail towards the outside world. Otherwise, if internal strife becomes too intense, they would have to start all over again. D-Planet is currently in a dangerous situation like this. The world was full of intrigue and cunning, and technology had stagnated for several centuries. With just a few sparks, it was easy to ignite a disaster. Have those mischievous boys got any news? Shiyu asked. Yes. Smart conversion screen. There's news that a large-scale fire chase occurred in a village in the western part of Wakanda. The specific reason is unclear, but rumors say that the soldiers there saw the Hulk from the Avengers and a feces star. What on earth is a defecation star? In her heart, she muttered, I have nothing to do with the rain, but asked aloud, shouldn't anyone believe this news? Intelligence, well, nobody believes it now, but who knows in a few years. No longer can we wait. Shiyu swept her hand grandly. Send in the substitute players. We'll set off officially in 3 days. After completing this mission, bring those 3 idiots back with you. At this moment, far away in South Africa, the 3 idiots mentioned by Shiyu are running for their lives. Liver Emperor, my heavens, I just snatched a little girl, and they're sending planes and tanks after me? Are these bastards that thirsty? Is it not you? Dog Brother, upon hearing this, flew into a rage and rolled his eyes fiercely. I knew it would turn out bad by trusting you. Is this the Trigger Task main storyline you were talking about? This isn't triggering, is it? The Liver Emperor pointed to the back. Look at that grandeur. What else do you need to call it a triggered task? You always have a reason F***king every time. Liver Emperor, bro, I was in the right from the start. If you can't accept that, why don't you argue with me? Dog Brother, I argue with you, immortal. Shut up. Lao Lu leaned on Dog Brother's shoulder and looked back with some excitement. Although the Liver Emperor was a bit of a letdown, it has to be said that it was quite thrilling. The Liver Emperor, that is to say, life is boring, and it's not easy to find a game with such a high level of immersion. If we don't seek some excitement, isn't life just too dull? I suggest we take action against them later. Who agrees? Raise your hands. Dog Brother didn't say a word and charged forward head-on, while Lao Yi said, he doesn't have hands, you know. South Africa covers an area of 122 million square kilometers, with the vast majority of the land unsuitable for agricultural cultivation. However, it is extremely conducive to the thriving of wildlife. Added to this is the local protection policy for wildlife, which fills this land with a sense of the primitive. It's not uncommon to encounter any animal on your travels across this land. Sometimes, while walking, a lion might suddenly appear and carry you away. Therefore, in areas not designated for planning, pedestrians who are familiar with the area generally do not disembark easily. But at this moment, there was a group of people who deliberately disregarded this rule, swaggering along the road. But strangely, although they walked with a grand air, the cheetahs and hyenas surrounding the esbati seemed to have noticed them not at all. In this way, the few of them crossed through the midst of these carnivorous animals as if they were ghosts. Upon close listening, one discovers that there is not a single sound beneath their feet, truly resembling a ghost in broad daylight.
Captain, it certainly doesn't seem right.
In the crowd, a woman whispered to the leader, a middle-aged man with one eye. The accent is subtle, with many syllables in the pronunciation, yet they are clearly, apart from the pauses after particles, the speech is mostly, which is distinctly reminiscent of the accent from the federal Red Sun region. The person addressed as the captain nodded upon hearing this. At this moment, the road they were walking on was littered with metal debris and the traces of gunpowder and bullets, clearly indicating a fierce battle had taken place. The hyenas surrounding them had also been attracted by the esbati. But the traces of this great war are quite different from the normal military engagements of the past. From the scene, a total of 5 armored vehicles, 3 tanks, and 2 helicopters equipped with Gatling guns were destroyed. The tank is a standard improved version of the T-72 main battle tank, originating from the Soviet zone in 1973. It is characterized by its simple design, reliability, and durability, and has been quite popular among federal third-party small countries, thanks to its high cost-performance ratio. It has never been phased out, even as the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution began. It was only adjusted in terms of materials and firepower systems, while retaining the original structure. It remains highly sought after among these small countries. As one of the industrial powerhouses, these Red Sun ninjas, while somewhat disdainful of this design from over 100 years ago, still have to admit that its practicality is actually not bad. At least it shouldn't be destroyed into the current state. Captain, look at this among the team. One member jumped nimbly onto the overturned tank, examined it carefully, and then said with a serious expression, the connecting parts have been disassembled, and the cannon barrel has been violently twisted. This is definitely not something that could be caused by normal combat fire. The man called Captain squinted at the remaining marks on the armor, which were clearly a fingerprint. However, the finger that left this print was not one that should belong to a human, and the strength it displayed on the armor was somewhat too incredible.
What on earth is it that's snatching away the antibodies? The captain's brow furrowed. Captain, do you think the rumors about Hulk could be true?
One of the team members asked hesitantly.
The captain, upon hearing this, rolled his withered eye upwards. Do you really believe that kind of stuff made up by those North American guys? If there really is an Avengers League, why bother with a World Federation? Why not just call it the Great American Empire instead?
Can Captain, the subordinates, looking at the fingerprints on the armor, still felt uneasy? Shouldn't the extraordinary hybrid team have come up with a new variety again? The captain sighed and guessed. The crowd's expressions tightened instantly. The extraordinary ones, ranked second among the top 5 mercenary guilds, only second to the number 1 Round Table Knights. This team employs genetic enhancement, utilizing the transplanted genes from animals and insects to create extraordinary warriors. They are humorously referred to as the hybrid team by insiders, but in reality, no one dares to underestimate this team. Everyone knows that behind them stands the strongest nation and technology team in the Federation.
But what new thing have these dogs come up with this time? After all, the ability to dismantle a tank with bare hands is a bit terrifying, isn't it? What should we do, Captain? What to do?
The captain glared at the person who asked the question and said, no matter how powerful, it's still the same old thing. The fundamental problem can't be solved, and it will still be controlled by us. People nodded slightly in relief upon hearing this. The warriors of the extraordinary team, after undergoing biological modification, have almost unparalleled individual combat capabilities among the 5 mercenary companies. However, due to the excessively aggressive genes of beasts and insects, they are very unstable, and their team members often lose control, especially during the act of killing. So in order to control these team members, the mercenary corps would equip each extraordinary warrior with a controller, primarily relying on a chip transplanted into their brain to control them. Once a member exhibits a frenzied state, the current on the chip can be used to force them to calm down. And if one still fiercely resists, the controller can even directly detonate the chip. This operational mode is somewhat akin to the Suicide Squad in DC. But this is too much of a flaw for these stealthy ninja experts in ambushing, as they could easily bypass the super warrior and eliminate the controller, seizing the device and directly detonating the chip in the super warrior's head. This also leads to the fact that among the top 5 mercenary guilds, the one that the superb mercenary guild would most dread facing is the Shinro Mercenary Guild. To this thought, most of the team gradually calmed down, feeling that the captain made a sensible point. For so many years, the superb Warriors Legion has been continuously modified. Although the strength of the warriors has been growing stronger and stronger, it's always been a case of changing the sauce but not the medicine. As long as they don't resolve the issue of genetic frenzy and as long as they continue to use that old model, then our side will always be at a disadvantage against them. However, it's a bit strange. The captain stroked his chin as he said, the intelligence says that this virus incident is highly likely to be a trick played by their superhuman organization. Since the virus was made by them, they should be the ones to eliminate the antibodies. But what did the captain think of? The female ninja beside her asked. The captain stroked his sensual beard under his chin and said thoughtfully, antibodies usually arise from ordinary residents who have contracted the disease. In this situation, wouldn't it be better to send a chameleon that can hide or an eagle with sharp eyesight that can snipe from a great distance? Why send such an exaggerated character? Is it for the sake of the experimental results? What do you mean? The female ninja senses there's a deeper concern in the team's words.
The captain fell silent upon hearing this, and finally said, "You see, besides our 5 major mercenary guilds, will there be any other forces involved in this? What other forces could there be?" The team members were puzzled. The captain hesitated for a moment, took out a cigarette, lit it, and said, "Have you ever heard of the Central China Dragon Group? Heard of it, right? Isn't it supposed to be 404D? I heard even the pirated versions are hard to find." As the member mentioned this, he saw the serious expression on the captain's face and choked up. "Captain, do you really believe in that stuff?" Uncertainly the captain sighed. "Our last team leader wasn't lost in Central China? It's been 20 years without any news. I guess the grass on their grave must be 2 meters tall by now." The team members. "You say there's supernatural power there, but it hasn't appeared internationally for so many years, and I've heard that TV dramas aren't allowed to depict the supernatural or eerie, but you say there isn't, and for so many years, not a single supernatural being who has entered the Central Plains has survived. What's really going on in there? I'm so curious. No, when I get old, I have to go and see for myself." The team members. "What's going on with this current team leader? Isn't it good to be alive?" However, that kind of power, the team members thought, looking at the fingerprints on the armor, besides the technological mutation in North America, there should be no other method that could reach this level, right? What? Lost track of them? Why don't you all go eat shit? Out of oil? Wasn't it me who told you to bring enough oil? A few dozen kilometers away, a black army of nearly a battalion size is temporarily stationed on a grassy plain, and the chubby black general, listening to the report on the walkie-talkie, roared in anger. Prado, waiting for instructions in a temporary tent, was also at a loss for words. The plane ran out of fuel. Couldn't one say that he was indeed the most manly man in American comics? They use turboshaft engines for the helicopters in their unit, and aviation kerosene is fuel. Even if they run out of fuel while chasing someone, they have to admit it's impressive. "Soldier, are you sure that the antibody is still safe in the monster's hands?" After nearly half an hour, the obese black general finally turned off the radio, turning around with a stern expression and asking Prado. "Yes, I am very certain." Prado replied promptly. But a strange look appeared in his eyes. That day, after the little girl was robbed, she wisely decided not to resist at the moment but instead chose to join the main group before initiating the pursuit. As it turned out, her choice was correct. The 2 guys who looked like Hulks really lived up to their appearance in terms of combat power. They have chased the enemy to the point where almost only these frontline soldiers are left. The armored units and the accompanying helicopters have been almost completely wiped out. The only helicopter left in the battalion now dares only to watch from a distance, fearing that it might be shot down by a thrown stone if it gets too close. Actually, he doesn't understand why these people still stubbornly follow him. The general has been cursing and ridiculing them, saying they only know how to run. He really wants to know, if they didn't run and stood still waiting for him, would he dare to do anything? Over the past 20 plus T-72 tanks and a dozen helicopters providing long-range fire support were still annihilated by the enemy. Now, with just rifles in their hands, even if they catch up with the enemy, would the soldiers dare to advance? And it's quite strange that, in such a predicament, the general didn't even request military support, nor did he choose to stop at any military checkpoints to replenish supplies, as if he were deliberately avoiding something. And they were strictly ordered not to disclose the fact that those monsters carried antibodies, on the grounds that the matter had already been classified as a top secret. Since this matter has already been known about, given the importance of the issue, why has support not arrived yet? He always felt that there was something peculiar about this matter. Prado the general folded his hands and spoke with gravity. "You are the descendant of the Ungol tribe, carrying the bloodline of the most excellent hunters. Now that the plane has lost track, it is upon you alone to track down those monsters and reclaim our nation's hope." Prado, upon hearing this, immediately discarded his doubts and quickly stood at attention, saluting. "Yes, General, I will do my utmost." "That's good." The general nodded satisfactorily, but as he turned around, a hint of coldness flickered in his eyes. "I swear that old plane." Finally, no trace of it. Dog brother couldn't help but lie on the sandy ground, gasping heavily. At this moment, the sun was blazing overhead, and the temperature of the sand was so high that even if a snake were buried in it, it might have been roasted. But Dog brother paid no heed to it. After all, on Mars, what kind of sand hasn't he slept on? "What did I say?" The Liver Emperor proudly said, "This mode is just like Grand Theft Auto. If we clash head-on, the army will just keep growing. So, let's run around a bit more and wait for the to fade, then we can go out and have another round of fun. F***CKU. Dog brother replied with a bad mood. "You're the one who turned around and ran when you saw people gathering around, and now you're bringing out the heist car routine. How do you always seem to have an excuse for everything?" Dogs hit. Liver Emperor said with a snort, "We've knocked out those dozens of tanks with rolled-up sleeves. Would I be afraid of those soldiers with guns? I just find the special effects too realistic and not quite used to them." This remark caused the dog brother beside him to pause slightly as well. To be honest, the game's graphics are well done without any flaws, but there's no need to make them so realistic, right? By accident, I slapped a soldier so hard that he shattered into pieces, leaving me with a handful of unmentionable substances, almost making me vomit right there. This game is really bold. Won't it fail the review process like this? Maybe I should go back and ask Lou Leoi to give the studio some suggestions. At least, we could put some codes on it. Thinking of those gory scenes, Dog Brother felt a wave of discomfort and quickly changed the topic. He turned around and asked, "Hey, does anyone have some nutrient fluid? I feel like I'm expending so much energy, I'm both tired and thirsty." "This is fine, but as soon as you mention it, I feel my mouth is dry and my throat is sore, making it even more uncomfortable." The Liver Emperor also smacked his lips, glanced at the little girl next to him, who looked weak, with dry lips yet dared not make a sound, and his heart tightened slightly. He muttered to himself, "This game is too realistic, isn't it?
An NPC with such vivid expressions, even my maternal instincts soaring.
So, turning to Lu Leoi, I asked, Grandpa, did you bring it? Who would bring that thing around?
Lu Leoi said with a bad mood, isn't that thing supposed to be carried by people like you who toil with bricks? Look, where on my body does it look like there's a place to hide things? He said while twisting his jelly-like body. The liver emperor agreed upon hearing this, a lump of stuff without hands or feet, it can't possibly be stuffed inside, can it? Why do I feel like you're not thirsty at all? Dog brother also looked curiously, that's right, you elves, if you stay out in the sun for too long without replenishing your fluids, won't you dry up?
I'd been waiting for so long, oh my god.
Lu Leoi was so angry that his whole body turned green. I said, you two bastards, why do you keep staring at me all the time? It turns out you had this in mind, damn it, I'm like this now, and you guys can still do this, you two beasts. The appearance is a bit ugly, but as long as the taste is good. Liver Emperor stroked his chin and said,
You will not succeed.
Lu Leoi said with a, why, both asked curiously.
You don't understand that, do you?
The elves in their transformation period can store energy, Grandpa. I have stored quite a lot before, so you can rest assured, even if you two beasts starve to death, Grandpa, I won't die. Both of them suddenly lit up, and the Liver Emperor even said with a mouthful, I said, your liver is so big, I thought you must have evolved, but it turns out you're just bloated, this wobbly thing, it must be full of water, right?
Could it be like camels, where you can cut open the hump on their back and it's all water? What the hell, the camel peak is filled with water, and it's fat inside, isn't it? Don't you have any common sense? Have you ever read the YY book? You do look like you've stored water in there. What do you want?
Lu Leoi suddenly realized the danger and stepped back 2 steps, warning, I warn you, it is forbidden to publicly harm living players.
Which one would harm you?
Liver Emperor smiled gently, you see, everyone is so thirsty they can't move, why don't we poke 2 holes, and if what comes out is in water, we'll stop right there, what do you think about that?
Not good.
Lu Leoi was shaking his body frantically. I say, how come you're so lacking in a sense of the big picture, forcing us to use Chiang Mai? You guys. Lu Leoi could only feel a sense of injustice, and finally weakly said, that what if it's water?
Is it water, and you're not sharing?
The Liver Emperor roared in anger, look at that little girl, her pretty black face has turned pale with thirst, can you bear to do that?
Lu Leoi.
Back home, I must write a lengthy article, fiercely denouncing the initial weakness of the elven race. These green-skinned dogs have truly pushed the limit of provocation.
Where will this route lead?
Scratching his brow, he asked while looking at the map track by the Prado in the tent. Prado hurriedly pointed to the map and said, there are 5 routes ahead, but the other 4 are all sandy, only the route to Zimbabwe is green and fertile, there are no footprints on the sand, and given their size, it should be impossible to conceal them, they haven't concealed them before either, so it's likely they took this route to hide their tracks, and it's also the only route where there would be a water source behind it.
Excellent. The general nodded satisfactorily. Are you confident in your ability to track them in the green plains and the jungle? For their size, the problem should be minimal.
Good, very good. The general patted the other person's shoulder. You're worthy of being a descendant of the hunter tribe. If you can retrieve the antibody this time, I'll grant you the highest honor, and I've heard you've always wanted to be stationed in the city garrison of Wakanda. If this matter is handled well, I'll make the decision for you and approve your transfer.
General Sie.
The Prado suddenly became excited. With the current turbulent situation, I have only a younger sister and a disabled father at home, and he has always been worried about them. He has been eager to return, and this time, the opportunity has finally come. But then, thinking about the terrifying powers of the 2 monsters, Prado's heart was once again filled with unease. What if he couldn't retrieve the antibodies in the end? Would his transfer be cancelled? Moreover, he also deeply desired to retrieve the antibodies. After all, who would want to live in an environment of pandemic panic? Seeing the change in the other person's expression, the chubby general smiled and said, don't worry, I have already requested for reinforcement, you just need to focus on tracking the location. When the time comes, we will only be responsible for assisting in the reinforcement, while someone else will handle the main force against those 2 monsters. Upon hearing about the support, Prado's face lit up with enthusiasm, and he saluted immediately. General, please rest assured, I will not let you down. But I was also curious in my heart. The officer looked full of confidence, and I wondered which legion's troops were being sent for this support. In his estimation, to defeat those 2 monsters, at least 3 heavy armor regiments would be needed, right? And not to mention that big turd alien who's never made a move. It doesn't seem very optimistic.
All right, you go ahead and prepare.
The general smiled warmly. Yes, sir. After Prado stepped down, the general walked over to the map on the table and knocked on it. Zimbabwe, we can't let them hide in that area of influence. What are the captains up to?
It's not even time yet.
The phrase was eerie, the voice even more so. Who would have thought that the black, chubby man with his round, fat face would suddenly emit a sharp, feminine voice?
Who are you whispering bad things about in secret again?
A mocking voice suddenly echoed behind the chubby general, causing his pupils to dilate. In a flash, the muscles in his left arm tensed, and he swung his elbow back with a fierce force. This general appears to have a chubby face and a look of kidney deficiency, yet when he throws an elbow, it seems extremely formidable. Before it reaches the opponent, the force already forms visible ripples in the air.
This hit the person on the head, and it's probably that some people would believe that it could even break the skull.
But facing this fierce elbow strike, the person behind showed no intention of dodging. With a slight shift of his body, he gently blocked the impact point of the general's elbow strike with his delicate and fair hands. After the force was deflected, he subtly controlled the trajectory of the opponent's strength with the flexibility of his fingertips. At a certain angle, he suddenly pressed down fiercely. This incredibly skillful grappling technique instantly altered the general's strength to his own advantage. The general, whose strength was altered, suddenly felt his body lose balance. It was evident that the general was an experienced fighter, immediately straightening his posture and attempting to stabilize his stance with a horse stance and his waist strength. However, the person behind him, upon seeing this,
immediately jabbed the opponent's Guan Yuan point with his right hand, a clear
indication of a highly skilled skill in blocking meridians. The corpulent general, struck so abruptly, felt the power coiled at his waist dissipate instantly. He could no longer stand, losing his balance, and the next second, a sharp pain shot through his arm. Due to his unbalanced state, the opponent guided him into an elbow strike, and with a swift push and pull, his left arm was dislocated instantly.
Master!
The fat general realized that this time he might have encountered a formidable opponent. With a fierce look in his eyes, he pulled his body forward, allowing his arm to dislocate. His chubby figure moved with extraordinary agility, flipping over and delivering a fierce knee strike. This kind of agility and endurance to endure the pain of a dislocated joint and launch a counterattack is hard to imagine from a chubby black man with a potbelly. The opponent was also forced to let go by this decisive knee strike, and after blocking with both hands, he floated backward. His technique for dissipating force was also extremely skillful.
Not bad, Nana. Your skills haven't declined, have they?
Hearing this familiar cold voice, the general shuddered all over and hurriedly looked towards the other party. To his surprise, the girl who dislocated his arm with just one move appeared to be no taller than 1.5 meters, thin and frail. He forgot about the dislocation on his arm and knelt down immediately. Captain Chun-Shui, get up, put your own arm back together.
Yes.
The chubby general heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Slowly standing up, he pulled and connected his right hand to his left arm with a swift motion, and with a crack, his arm was back in place. Clearly, a well-trained warrior, he made no sound during the process. If the Liver Emperor and the others had seen this, they would have exclaimed, "Brave man,
you're quite impressive."
The woman who broke General Pang's arm praised, "To this general for 5 years and still maintain such a high level of combat skills is rare."
Commander Xia praised. General Pang joyfully responded with a cheerful yes, and then curiously asked, "Captain Chun-Shui, wasn't it mentioned in the instructions that Captain Takashi Kojima was supposed to be leading this team?" The woman replied indifferently, "The organization attaches great importance to this mission. In addition to Takashi, they have also sent me and Captain Shinmu to assist in completing this task." The Godwood leader has arrived? The fat general was instantly shocked. This mission organization actually sent out 3 captain-level figures?
The Cheyenne is composed of a total of 7 teams. Apart from the overall commander, the team leaders are the strongest combatants each possessing the unique ability of a level 100 ninja, capable of facing 100 enemies alone. Generally, such high-level personnel are rarely assigned to routine tasks, and it's a first for sending 3 at once. In the history of our team, I'm afraid this hasn't happened in the past 20 years. Springwater, the organization is very interested in the Green Giant battle video you sent over. This time, our mission is not only to seize the antibodies but also to capture a sample of the Green Giant to bring back for research above. He paused and said, "We need to move quickly. If that really is the new product from the superhuman, we absolutely cannot let them recover it smoothly."
Is this for me to drink?
The little girl, looking at the Green Giant as he carefully held out the green liquid in his hands, wrapped in leaves, her eyes showed curiosity and confusion, but also a hint of desire. Because of the refreshing fragrance of that green liquid, just one whiff made her feel as if every pore on her body opened up, imbuing her with a sense of freshness that ran deep within her bones.
That should be quite tasty, right?
Drink up, little sister, this is the destiny of your tribe. You will reign supreme.
Dog brother couldn't help but cover his head beside him. Is this guy really a 30-year-old programmer? How does it feel so nerdy? But what is the cost? What is it?
The little girl gazed at the green liquid, her eyes revealing a mix of longing and fear.
This kid can speak Chinese? Dog brother was taken aback, and the most crucial part is the lines even connected? Gul'dan can't rest in peace. The cost is everything.
The liver god revealed a smile that he thought was sinister but was actually rather creepy, causing the little girl to shrink back towards the nun behind her.
You demons! The nun, already weak and gasping for breath, murmured inwardly, "Why must heaven treat her clan so cruelly?" As the hope of resolving the crisis seemed to be born, why would such demons emerge to shatter their hope? Is that the devil's blood? Do these demons intend to infect the saints sent by Allah to save them?
The nun thought thus, for although she was a doctor and a follower of the faith, she did not entirely adhere to the tenets of materialism. In her heart, she firmly believed in the existence of the Almighty. To her, this miraculous little girl was undoubtedly a chosen saint sent by God to save them from their suffering.
Why is it that among so many, only she resisted the virus? And then there's this terrifying demon with a fierce appearance coming to snatch her away?
The appearance of these 2 demons further reinforced her belief in the existence of Allah, and she continuously prayed for Allah to send down a valiant warrior god to dispel these evil forces. As a believer, what she needs to do is to protect this hope bestowed by the celestial god before the warrior of the heavens descends. Just now, she could see clearly that this group of demons were squeezing demon's blood out of the ugly demon, who looked like a disgusting filth. This was an attempt to the saint to drink the demon's blood, an attempt to defile this pure saint.
Absolutely cannot let them succeed. Roll away, demons, we will not drink.
The nun shouted with the last bit of her strength. The liver emperor was taken aback. Although he couldn't understand what the woman was saying, it was clear that he could roughly guess her meaning through her gestures. He then scowled and said, "If you won't drink, I will."
Don't take my kindness for granted.
Dog rolled his eyes upon hearing this, thinking that listening to your lines would make people think you're kind-hearted, or maybe they'd think drinking it would turn them green just like you.
F***CK. So you still want to drink it by yourself?
Lu Leoi jumped up over a foot high instantly, sitting down on the Liver Emperor's face with a thump. The spiral jelly flesh was like a blob of rubber clay, smearing all over the Liver Emperor's face, sticking to him like a dogskin plaster. I told you to poke holes in me, to drink my elixir, isn't it delicious? I'll let you drink as much as you want. The Liver Emperor was suddenly engulfed in darkness. The liquid he was holding spilled all over the ground, some of which landed on the nun's clothes. The little girl beside him couldn't help but lean closer. The nun hurried to the little girl, saying, "Oh, dear, do not be tempted by the devil, be steadfast in yourself. As long as we do not waver, these demons cannot harm us." According to their creed, demons cannot harm those who will not descend into hell. They can only resort to tempting methods. Once they resist the temptation and pass the test, these seemingly powerful demons can do them no harm at all. Don't make so much noise. Dog Brother watched the two idiots bickering and couldn't help but cover his head, pointing ahead and saying, "There seems to be a river up ahead." "Is there a river?" Lu Leoi relaxed his body, and the Emperor of the Liver seized the opportunity to grab it from his head, staring ahead with wide eyes. To be honest, although the elixir juice smells quite good, it's still a bit stressful to drink, as it's squeezed from something resembling something else. Naturally, it's best to replenish fluids normally. Lu Leoi also hopped eagerly to the front, took a distant glance, and upon seeing a real river, he became excited. Although there was still some energy stored within him, his body had visibly shrunk after a day of traveling. If he continued like this, he might end up as a dried-up husk. Moreover, the beast next to him didn't discriminate between meat and vegetables, and if he got really angry, he might actually consider him as food. In that case, he might have nightmares for several days after. He logged off. "Huh, there are zebras too?" "It seems not only is there water, but we can also hunt for some wild meat to eat," Liver Emperor exclaimed excitedly. "Does zebra meat taste good?" Dog Brother seems somewhat intrigued. The game design is so realistic, even the smell of smoke can be replicated. Could they also create pure, natural wild flavors? Wild game is all delicious. Haven't you seen the Bear Grylls family live streaming for over a decade? That makes sense. Dog Brother Liver Emperor's words, nodded, but then asked in doubt, "What's that thing next to the zebra?" "It seems that it's the lion, the best in vision," Lu Leoi replied. Lions. The two were taken aback, though not as clearly as Lu Leoi, but they could roughly see that the two objects were almost standing together to drink. Lions and zebras drinking together? This game is still not rigorous. Huh? It seems like they're talking? Lu Leoi moved closer. "Can you understand what they are saying?" Two green titans were instantly shocked. My mentor said that elves can understand animal speech by calming their spirits. As animal speech is not as complex as the language of intelligent beings, we elves are naturally gifted with the ability to listen at level 1, so we can distinguish animal speech. "I'm at a loss. I was just saying how high your grazing efficiency is. It's too bug-like, right? I solemnly demand that the creators make adjustments and tone it down," the liver god protested. "Fix the peat." Old Master Lu can't help but roll his eyes. "You lot who were raking in points at the beginning, why didn't you say anything about needing to be rectified?" However, this might truly be a drawback. I'm not sure if it's because I've been playing too many games, but lately, when I passed by the neighbor's house and saw that chubby cat of theirs, I seemed to have a sense sometimes that I could understand what it was saying. "Wow, is that true or not?" Dog Brother was taken aback and remembered his unusual actions in the gym. He became curious and asked, "Did you hear what the cat said?" Lu Leoi reminisced about the scene from yesterday when he passed by the neighbor's house. At the time, he was going out for lunch and saw the chubby cat on the balcony doing something indecent. Unable to help himself, he stopped to take a closer look, only to suddenly hear the cat say, "Idiot, what are you staring at?" He shook his head abruptly, trying to dismiss the eerie scene from the previous day, muttering, "It must have been a." The Liver Emperor pointed to the front and said, "The illusion is offline now, sleep for 2 more rounds." This emperor is quite curious about what the lion and zebra in front can say. "Please translate quickly." Wait for Grandpa to get closer and listen. After pushing the eerie scene out of his mind, Grandpa moved closer, settled down, and began to listen carefully. "Zebra, there will be a group of zebras passing by here at this time tomorrow." "Lion, is the message reliable?" "Zebra, it should be." "Lion, okay, understood, go back on standby." "Zebra, this is the last time, I don't want to do this kind of thing anymore." "Lion, do you have a choice?" "It's probably something like that," Lu Leoi said with a peculiar tone. The Liver Emperor and Dog Brother, upon hearing this, were so embarrassed that they muttered to themselves, "Damn, even in the natural world, it's so dark? Huh? Not only is there a river ahead, it seems there's also a factory, huh? The logo of this factory looks a bit familiar," Dog suddenly said. The Liver Emperor, who was lamenting the darkness of the world, was momentarily startled upon hearing this. He looked over and saw a relatively modern building in the distance, and the Liver Emperor became excited. There was another NPC to interact with. This time, he couldn't be so rash. He had to investigate this territory thoroughly. Lu Leoi, however, was concerned about the two characters' eye familiar in Dog Brother. "You say the logo is familiar?" A bit." Dog Brother is somewhat uncertain. Lu Leoi pondered and said, "That should be a copied trademark, right? After all, such a large-scale game, it's impossible for every commercial building logo in a random mission map to be original, right? Generally, they just slightly modify some popular logos and use them." Well, Dog Brother tilted his head in, thinking to himself, "But the uncle's company from my own family, it doesn't seem very popular."
和大多数新闻情报上一样，如今那片土地笼罩在病毒散发的恐慌和绝望当中，城市里的人大多都闭不出户，乡村里也没有了往日的篝火和围着篝火跳舞的人，一个个在冰冷的黑夜中将自己家人牢牢地关在屋内，用着警惕的目光在窗户前窥探着外面的情况。当然，也有很多山村陷入更加恐怖的绝望， 被感染病毒的他们被军队封锁在里面，静静地等着死亡的降临。此时，一个偏远的村落便遭受着如此待遇，一群拿着 AK 的军队死死地包围着整个村落，警惕地盯着每个角落，不让里面的人有丝毫逃出来的机会。尽管面对的是一群手无寸铁的村民，但这些士兵依旧没有丝毫放松。这些村民不仅要忍受病毒给身体带来的巨大痛苦，还要安心面对着毫无生机的结局。在这种无比绝望的氛围里，人往往能做出比平时可怕无数倍的事情出来。这不是危言耸听，因为在他们来封锁这里之前，很多村落已经有多支部队死于绝望村民的暴动之中了。原因也仅仅是因为一时的心软。士兵看守是轮换制，此时正是换班的时间。一个身材魁梧的黑人大汉端着武器走进靠西村口一个看起来很精瘦的士兵面前。嘿，普拉多，情况怎么样？大汉打着招呼，似乎和那个人很熟的样子。现目前还好，情绪似乎都安稳下来了。被叫普拉多的男子长得很精瘦，与他那日系陆地巡洋舰般的名字似乎不太匹配。精瘦汉子显得有些疲惫，不过还是要小心，越是平静，很有可能越会爆发。哦，对了，我要的东西呢？弄到了没？哦，你说那个呀？壮汉闻言笑了笑，露出一口和皮肤分明的白牙，掏出一个包装精巧的盒子，只见上面还用英文标识着漫威出品。我以前还没发现，你居然还有一颗粉钢铁侠的少女心。普拉多白了他一眼，一把抢过盒子，看了看包装里面钢铁侠的模型手办，小心翼翼地收在怀里。这东西自己妹妹尼桑娜念了快半年了，但愿这迟来的玩具能让她精神好一点吧。望着对方那般小心翼翼的呵护，生怕把包装弄皱了，壮汉无语地叹了口气，送给小娃娃的。普拉多轻轻答应了一声。他并不喜欢和战友说自己家里的事，小孩子都喜欢超级英雄。壮汉点了根烟，声音变得有些怅然。可这世界上从来就没有什么英雄。普拉多，不过这话可不能对孩子说。见对方沉默，壮汉也不在意，自顾自地抽烟道：其实我也挺喜欢超级英雄的，有时候还在想，真有这么一群家伙就好了。你想钢铁侠来拯救你？普拉多难得地应了一句。不。壮汉咧嘴笑道：我想来个绿巨人把这里砸个稀烂。哈哈。普拉多难得地笑了一下，可下一秒他的笑容一下就僵在了脸上，因为他看到一张传说中的绿脸出现在战友身后。嘿，哥们，赏一根呗！有人利用这个跑出去了。基地里，西月一双眼睛差点从头盔里瞪了出来，指着基地里的传送器道：那个传送器是用来这次任务传送的，连位置都调试的差不多了。结果智能报告说有人启动了这个装置，智能没来得及关闭，于是有几名玩家就那样被传送走了。智能，领主不要激动，我很激动。西月头盔下的俊脸满是黑线。话说那机器不是藏在地下室的吗？为什么会被玩家找到？智能，领主怕是低估了那些玩家的探索能力了。这基地除了你那不被允许进入的休息室，哪里没被玩家给探索干净？化粪池每天都要光顾无数玩家，很多人还想在里面找宝箱呢。西月，你就不能设置点禁制吗？智能，我设置了呀，本智能特意在传送器上面标注了很严厉的警告。西月闻言望了过去，只见传送器上有一行很显眼的红色字体，严厉警告：此装置非常危险，切勿触碰，尤其是上面那个红色按钮，按了后果自负。PS， 真的非常危险，请不要乱按。跟在后面一起的鱼女无瓜看到这个所谓的警告后，眼角一抽，感觉这智能是故意的吧？喂，西月皱了皱眉，摸着下巴道：没毛病呀，智能，是吧？鱼女无瓜只感觉三观一震，实在不知该如何吐槽。这样直也能出来当领主的吗？可本智能觉得事情已经发生，在纠结谁的错已经没有意义，不如还是想想该如何补救不是？西月继续皱眉，最终点了点头，也是。鱼女无瓜再次震惊，真的就这样混过去了哇？喂，你的智能也太好当了点吧？不过这种事还是要继续杜绝，继续发生才是。要不把这个警告标记再放大一点，或者说放个骷髅头，会不会显得更严肃些？智能，领主大人果然英明。英明个屁啊！鱼女无瓜实在看不下去了，赶紧上前插话道：领主大人，这东西难道就不能像您的房间那样放个电磁隔离之类的吗？能放本领主早放了。西月回过头望着鱼女无瓜道：空间装置一般都是人工守护的，如果放能量罩，很容易扰乱磁场，导致传送的坐标出现偏差。你以为本领主会想不到这点？真当本领主傻吗？鱼女无瓜强行按下心中吐槽，他耐着性子无力道：领主大人，那要不要考虑一下将传送器放赞达大叔那里保管呢？赞达呀，他平时很忙呀，那么忙碌的情况下还委托工作给他，会不会太不人道了点？哟，这领主居然还知道体贴员工。鱼女无瓜脸色微微柔和了一点，看来也不是毫无优点嘛。正在说点什么，却又听到西月继续道：万一他叫本领主要加班工资怎么办？要不还是你来看着吧，反正你这几天又不用下线。鱼女无瓜，我胡思啊。南非某个村落外，一个3米高的绿巨人狠狠地吐出一口烟气，脸上露出了享受般的表情。哇哦，革老子的，这烟味道真巴适，比劳资那7块钱一包的红双喜带劲多了。这游戏真特么给力，居然连抽烟的感觉都能模拟出来，不火没的天里挖。咦，兄弟，你不来跟？旁边一个绿泰坦冷漠转头，直接就没理他。 普拉多还有他的战友则是一脸呆滞地望着眼前这头，哦不，2头绿色的巨人。这世界居然真的有浩克，还特么有2个。我是不是没睡醒？不过浩克不是北美老一想出来的吗？就算真的存在，是不是应该说英文？怎么听这口音有点像华中的大兄弟，好像还带点巴蜀腔。而且他们旁边那坨扭来扭去像坨屎一样的是什么东西？大变星人吗？嘿，那哥们再来根塞。哦，勉强能听懂华中语的普拉多连忙给大佬递烟，还很上道的给他打了火。联邦里，南非和华中的关系一直很好，远赴南非扶贫修铁路的华中人很多，对他们的语言和口音还算比较熟悉。哦，谢了兄弟，绿泰坦又逮了一口，再次望向另外一个同胞，你确定不来支？没这习惯，那绿泰坦翻了个白眼后摇头道，从轮廓上看一下便能认出，那摇头的绿泰坦正是狗哥，而那吸烟的正是如今绿泰坦玩家中积分榜第1名甘地。那卢老爷呢？甘地对着底下扭动的一坨绿翔问道。不抽。卢老爷晃着自己歪歪曲曲的身躯道，本凤凰还在发育当中，抽烟万一畸形了咋办？囊凯会。甘地皱眉道，怎么不会？卢老爷跳了一下道，万一这游戏要宣传吸烟有害健康呢？现在风头那么紧，不表现点正能量不怕404迈？有点道理哈。甘地闻言点了点头，掐灭了手中的烟头，随即望向周围，话说这是哪里？游戏副本地图卖？我怎么知道？卢老爷忍不住白了对方一眼，明明上面写了危险，不要按，你非要按，还把我们一起拖着来了，这下好了，怎么回去都不知道。等会要是遇到个红名怪挂了，老爷我又要从头再来，老爷变个凤凰容易吗？我跟你说，万一死回城，我下次化形换品种了，你得赔老爷我。慌个锤子慌，这不还没遇到怪吗？甘地不耐烦道，何况那也能叫警告？这和电视上那些遇到采花贼的女娃一边说不要一边往床上躲有啥区别吗？不就是都到我们去按卖？卢老爷莫要慌，根据我多年耍游戏的经验，这种临时副本应该是触发式的，说不定完成任务后还有奖励呢。这卢老爷和狗哥听到奖励的时候，眼睛微微一亮。俗话说马无夜草不肥，老是去和其他玩家抢着搬砖放牛，恐怕是很难拉开距离成为高玩的。这么一看，这个触发式任务或许是个机会啊。那些游戏里主角都是遇到这种任务慢慢拉开和普通玩家差距的。想到此，卢老爷渐渐收起了不满，犹豫了一下道，你说的也有道理，依您多年游戏经验来看，我们该去哪里接任务呢？这简单。甘地闻言站了起来，指了指前面村落道，前面不是有个村脉，进去找塞，找脑壳上有感叹号的。 No， 村口那边察觉到几人意图的普拉多连忙拦住他们，用着生涩的华中语道，那里病毒不能进去。病毒？甘地一愣，随即拍手道，哦，老子懂了，是生化模式，喊老子们来打丧尸的。狗哥嘴角一撇，你又懂了，这很常见吗？甘地摸着下巴一本正经分析道，通常丧尸类游戏都是这种模式开局，一个偏僻的村庄，里面的村民感染了病毒，外面有一群拿着枪然后毫无软战斗力的士兵，然后病毒爆发，一个过场动画，这些渣渣士兵就歇菜了，到时候就由我们来接管游戏了。真的假的？狗哥和卢老爷皱眉，总觉得这家伙不是很靠谱。他们在说什么？黑人壮汉问着旁边会一点华中文的普拉多道。普拉多皱了皱眉，犹豫了半天，低声道，说的太快，大多没听清楚，不过好像是在说你是个毫无软战斗力的渣渣。嘿！壮汉顿时气得瞪圆了眼，不过随即想了想，在复联里天神洛基都被浩克称为渣渣，这个渣渣从最强复仇者的口中说出来，似乎并不算是一件很丢脸的事嘛。随即又笑着释然了。就在这莫名的气氛之中，突然的西村口的位置，一个中年女人拖着自己肿胀的身体，摇摇晃晃地走了出来。咦，你们看，出怪了，出怪了！夜视能力较好的卢老爷率先发现后，连忙道：“你们谁上？我来。”甘地猛地起身，抓起旁边一颗半人高的岩石道：“让本地一岩头先试探试探。” No！ 普拉多见状，连忙拦住了他们：“你俩智障是吧？没看到人家手里还牵着个小女孩的，真下得去手呀？你们！”一旁的狗哥白了他们一眼道：“咦？”两人闻言定睛一看，也才看到那女人身后牵着一个瘦弱的小女孩。后退，请立刻回去。村民！壮汉打开了手电筒，脸色顿时严肃起来。一旁的普拉多通过手电看清来人后，细声道：“是普吉娜修女，这个村旁边修道院的修女，也是个医生，因为自愿来帮忙医护援助，不幸感染了病毒，是个值得尊重的人。”说着又望了望甘地他们，小心翼翼道：“你们能不能往后退一退？我怕普吉娜女士看到你们会受到惊吓，毕竟我们这里不是谁都看过复仇者联盟的。”惊吓？什么意思？甘地愣了愣，望向身后两个队友。卢老爷说你太丑，叫你后退些，别吓到别个。甘地，你是不是想我再次免费送你回城？你特么敢！卢老爷想起了上次被对方一脚才死回城的辛酸历史，顿时双眼通红，只差没扑上去咬对方一口。嘿！甘地冷笑，你再跳，看我敢不敢。这边 几个玩家互相吵闹之间，普拉多示意队友将手电等调得不那么刺眼后，大声道：“普吉娜女士，请不要再靠近了。”那女人听到声音后，脚步顿住，脸上勉强地挤出了一丝笑容，还做了一个真主的赐福礼。可如今她因为病毒缠身，整个面部浮肿，还布满了烂疮，此时挤出的笑容显得无比扭曲狰狞，让远处卢老爷和甘地不由打了个冷战，对着狗哥问道：“你确定这不是丧尸？”狗哥白眼一翻，直接懒得回他们：“哦，不要紧张，先生们。”那个女人声音嘶哑道：“我并没有恶意，也不是想要逃跑，我是来说一件很重要的事情的。”重要的事？普拉多和队友互相看了看，最终还是保持距离道：“那您说吧，但请不要有什么过激举动，以免伤到孩子。”这话可以说是警告意味很浓了，意思就是说，如果你有什么过激举动，哪怕是会误伤到孩子，我们也会开枪的。嗨嗨！女人重重的咳了一声，哇的一口血吐在地上，血液散发出一股腥臭。看着对方这模样，普拉多眼中露出一丝不忍。谁能想象，此时这一脸如恶鬼般的女人，在1-2周前还是这个部落男子人人暗自歪歪的女神呢？这个孩子，修女喘了好一阵，身后的小女孩很懂事的帮她拍着后背，好不容易喘过气来后，她一把抓过身后的孩子，虚弱道：“这个孩子他战胜了恶魔。”您说什么？普拉多和那大汉一愣，有些没反应过来。他战胜了恶魔，战胜了这次恶魔散播的瘟疫。修女情绪激动道：“您别激动，请站在原地，慢慢说。”普拉多压下心中的激动，尽量保持冷静道：“兄弟，他什么意思？”壮汉愣愣问道。普拉多低声回道：“他说那孩子战胜了瘟疫。”什么？这个孩子？修女把那女孩手拿了起来道：“前2天和我们一样，都染上了病毒，也都恶化了，但真主保佑，这个孩子得到了真主的祝福，他挺过来了。”真的？壮汉顿时也兴奋道。一旁的普拉多则是要谨慎一些，拦住了兴奋的队友，冷静地问道：“你有什么证据证明他是遭受过病毒后又好了的？”面对质疑，修女丝毫不以为意，兴奋地将小女孩的衣袖那掀开：“你们看，她手上这些脓疮已经开始干边化，明显的开始消肿了，而且你们看她的脸色已经越来越接近健康人的标准，这是我这2个月第一次遇到的症状，这绝对是已经在恢复的征兆，请你们立刻通知上面采集血清。”壮汉闻言，将手电拉近了一点，看到那小女孩的神态和手上快要消散的创口上时，拿手电的手都忍不住颤抖了起来。哥们，他说的好像是真的啊！普拉多闻言点了点头，眼中闪过一丝恍然，喃喃道：“终于这一切要过去了吗？快通知上面！”好嘞！壮汉闻言，兴奋地打开了对讲机。B351号驻守士兵有重大事件报告，请帮我连通上级，请帮我连通上级。过了大约1分钟后，对讲机内传来一阵低沉的男音：“收到，我是上尉扎哈，请士兵报告你所说的重大事件。”另一边，驻守这块区域的临时基地里，一个身着军服、带着上尉军衔的士兵快步走进了基地总指挥处。“你说什么？”有人从感染中恢复了过来。一个体型肥胖的黑人一脸惊讶地站了起来。“是的，长官。”那名上尉一脸兴奋道：“士兵报告的，说是已经初步证实了，现在请求我们将那小女孩保护起来，送往茨瓦尼医疗中心进行进一步证实。”“哦，真主保佑！”那黑人军官闻言也兴奋地搓着手来回踱步，随即又道：“事关重大，不能随意泄露。除了你基地，还有谁知道这件事？就只有我和西村口负责报告的2名士兵。士兵申请的越级报告，我这里一接到消息，便马上来向您报告了。”砰！话音一落，那一脸兴奋的上尉官直接应声倒地，死前脸上的表情都还沉浸在那个消息的兴奋当中，眼中带着希冀，似乎看到了自己国家即将恢复和平的未来。“那就好。”军官面色转冷，手中的手枪慢慢收回套里，冷冷地望着地上那连死都没反应过来的 ST， 沉默了2秒钟，随即拿起了办公桌上的电话。啪啪！啊！你们2个死鬼轻点！奥甘地和狗哥愣愣地哦了一声，随即展开自己的手掌，看着上面黏糊糊的一团道：“眼儿哟，这游戏逼真的过分喽，连蚊子都有，看把我们卢老爷盯得满头的包。”“狗哥，你知道那是头？”“甘地，难道是脚？”卢老爷闻言气愤地扭了扭自己，此时自己上半部螺旋顶尖也不知道是不是头的位置，被2个糙汉子一人一巴掌拍得通红，暗道：“麻蛋，这2个狗日的故意的吧？拍个蚊子至于这么用力吗？至于为什么他不自己来，而是需要别人给他拍蚊子，废话，他没手呀，怎么拍？你见过想弄自己赶苍蝇的吗？话说蚊子怎么不叮你2呀？”卢老爷极度不平衡道：“叮了呀，只是叮不到。”说着，他指了指自己手臂位置：“你看。”卢老爷闻言仔细看去，借着稀薄的月光，定了好几秒才看清楚，甘地的手臂上其实扒满了蚊子，但由于这家伙汗毛太过给力，又密又硬，根根都有寸把长，导致那些蚊子挤了半天愣是挤不进去，好不容易有挤进去的又会发现，麻蛋，这批比毛更硬。看，你们精灵经常说我们皮糙肉厚，现在晓得皮糙肉厚的好处了噻。卢老爷，狗哥则是望了望外面，2个兴奋的像猴子一样的士兵道：“他们在高兴什么？捡到钱了？不知道啊，说的啥完全听不懂啊，这是哪个国家的语言啊？又没得翻译字幕，这怎么玩？”卢老爷也不解道：“就是哈。”狗哥一拍大腿道：“我才发现， 智能好像也不在了呢，啥子情况哟？甘地摸着下巴又分析道，或许是策划故意的，想让玩家体验一下这种被孤立的感觉，让我们自己探索任务，高自由度，那可能就不得像那些泡菜游戏那样，满地图找脑壳上有感叹号的人喽。狗哥，这听都听不懂，怎么探索啊？甘地，瓜娃子，这刚才不是有个翻译吗？你看，这就是线索了噻，为什么恰好有个会华中话的黑人小哥？哎，这是有原因的吗？狗哥和卢老爷闻言咂了咂嘴，听这家伙这么一说，好像又有2分道理。可是从一开始按按钮到现在，这家伙说的都挺有道理的，可没一个应验。嘿，那个小哥，你过来喊！甘地不等队友同意，直接对那边吼道。正和队友手舞足蹈的普拉多听到这浑厚的声音，这才反应过来，那边还有几个很棘手的家伙。两人兴奋的表情顿时一僵，互相看了一眼，各自眼中露出了一丝忧虑之色。先不管那几个玩意到底是不是复仇者，可出现在这个时候似乎不是什么好事呀。特别是刚才那说祈祷浩克来把这里砸个稀巴烂的壮汉，恨不得抽自己2嘴巴子。你说你嘴咋那么欠呢？修女则是好奇的往那边看了看，暗道还有人吗？为什么要躲树后面呢？而且那影子好肥啊！您好，普拉多最终还是决定不撕破脸皮，小心翼翼的靠了过来，忐忑的问道：先生，你们有什么事吗？甘地，我问你哈，你们那么高兴，在说啥子事？说出来，我们也一起高兴哈塞。普拉多面色一紧，在对方底细未明的情况下，他哪里敢把这事儿说出来？万一对方目的不纯呢？没什么，没啥子。甘地脸色一黑，握起拳头道：小哥这是不给胖虎我面子卖。我跟你说哦，我这一闷坨下去，你可能会死哦。狗哥，真没什么。普拉多硬着头皮道：就是看啥子哦？就是随便看看。普拉多一直找不到说辞，只能含糊不清道：随便看看。3个玩家表情一愣，先是望了望对方，随即又望了望远处修女推出来的那个小女孩，结合之前那修女推出小女孩时好像说了点什么，随后2人就兴奋的跟猴子一样跳起舞来的动作，顿时恍然大悟。哦，原来是这种剧情的说，我擦，尺度好大啊！这小娃娃看起来比我家表妹还小，放华中最多小学4年级吧。甘地，哎，环境差吗？人都是有发泄需求的。你以为是咱们那里部队外面到处开的有店哦？卢老爷，严打，不要乱说。甘地，你想啥子？我说网吧，我信你个邪！部队外面能开网吧？可不管咋说，主线出来了噻！主线？狗哥和卢老爷一愣，感觉思想有些跟不上对方。这家伙又是咋看出主线出来了呢？还看不出来？甘地鄙夷地望着他俩道：这一个极度强调弘扬正能量的游戏，怎么可能会让这种丧心病狂的事情发生？当然是叫我们去阻止了，要不把我们传过来，演这么大一段干什么？这不是你手痒主动传过来的吗？这不重要，小弟们，跟紧大哥的步伐，准备抢人。菲利尔博士还没有进展吗？与此同时，远在瓦坎达医疗中心的实验室里，城市长官已经是第4次亲自来咨询进度了。您不是昨天才来过吗？有进度我难道不会第一时间向您报告？您难道就没别的事情做吗？尽管能理解对方心情，但频频被打扰的博士也有些不耐烦起来。但不得不说，科技大佬就是刁，一方总长说对就对，总长被对后没有任何难堪的表情，笑笑不以为意，继续厚着脸皮道：一点进展都没有吗？被叫菲利尔的博士面对这种家伙，愣是一点脾气没有，无奈地叹了口气，将手套脱了下来，带着总长来到了报告室。已经检测出，这应该是以埃博拉病毒为原型，人工调配的复合型进化类病毒。人工？总长一直笑盈盈的表情微微一沉，喃喃道：果然如此，我已经向华中区申请原始埃博拉的血清，预计明日就到货了。总长听到这个消息，赞同的点了点头。其实论医学实力以及对病毒的研究，北美区和西欧区明显要强得多，即便是东日区在医学上面的实力也要比华中给力，但华中却是联邦这么多势力中最安全和稳妥的。多年的对外口碑让他这个南非地区总长很相信，这次阴谋势力里绝对不包含他们。你一天有空还是多多关注各方情报，看看有没有自然形成抗体的人出现，这才是你现在最该做的事，而不是整天来我这里催进度。菲利尔博士没好气道：哪有那么简单？总长闻言苦笑，这几天频频收到外围村庄因为暴动而被火力歼灭的消息，可这里面到底真的是村民暴动，还是一些其他原因，他身在千里之外，却就有些说不清楚了。他知道很多人都在盯着这里的局势，谁都想发战争财，恐怕已经不知有多少个势力在暗中寻找那些自然抗体的人了。就在昨天，他便收到情报，如今联邦国际上最强的5支雇佣兵都已经悄悄潜入了这片土地。想到此，他心情越发沉重，不禁感叹自己的同胞到底还要经受多少苦难，才能看得到黎明。5大佣兵团，还有这种东西？基地里与女无瓜接收着智能传过来的第一手情报，顿时有些愕然。我以前怎么没听过？但随即又反应过来，哦，对，射了强的。西月也有些好奇，这和训练里针对的普通兵团有什么不同吗？智能稍稍有些不同。根据情报，这5支部队可能掌握一些普通人类没有掌握的技巧。什么技巧？与女无瓜和西月不约而同道。没有具体情报，智能打开了虚拟界面， 显示出了搜集的资料道，很多都是片面传闻，说是这5支队伍不仅训练有素，完成任务的概率几乎是100%，而且各自都拥有超自然的能力。超自然能力！鱼女无瓜眼睛一亮 ，X 战警、龙族、圆桌12骑士。一瞬间，他脑补出了自己能想到的一切组织。你说的这些东西，虽然名字可能不一样，但应该都有。智能回答道：“真的假的呀？”鱼女无瓜顿时冒着星星道：“有狼叔和亚瑟布。”智能，那就说不准了。西月抱着双手，眼神镇定，一言不发，心中则是暗道：麻蛋，他们在说什么呀？完全听不懂呀，混蛋！现目前资料最多的应该是排名第4的神乐佣兵团，这佣兵团建团历史超过200年，听说是内部几个大财阀背地里支持，全由红日区顶尖上人组成，单兵作战力极强，在佣兵界口碑极好，只要收了钱，任务基本没出过错。如果到期未完成，佣兵团会以5倍的价格退还雇佣金。我去，上人都来！鱼女无瓜继续吃瓜，震惊：5倍雇佣金赔偿？西月则关心另外一点，这么自信？宇宙大联邦也有佣兵团，但也没听说过哪个佣兵团这么自信的。鱼女无瓜是动漫里的那种忍者吗？智能的确自信，而且从地球暗网的资料来看，这个佣兵团已经100年没有出过错了。鱼女无瓜，那忍者会不会遁术呀？有没有写轮眼？可以开8门遁甲吗？西月，这听起来很棘手呀，看来得加强训练强度呀。鱼女无瓜，喂，你们2个不要无视我呀！聒噪！西月敲了一下鱼女无瓜的脑袋，最终也忍不住问道：“那个忍者是什么？”鱼女无瓜被敲得脑壳生疼，刚想发火，但听到领主也问起了这个问题，顿时安静了下来。智能顿时将屏幕一换，忍者源自地球联邦东日区的一个古老职业，有点类似联邦阴影者的特性，是那种掌握诡秘技能的刺客，但不知是否掌握了阴影能量。你以前不是说那星球唯物主义文明吗？西月皱眉道：“智能大趋势是唯物主义，但在1000年前也有着向唯心主义发展的趋势。古4大文明在历史上都有着机会朝着这方面发展。古老时期，人类也信仰精神文明，星球的盖亚意识也渐渐受到众多信仰的影响，活化出了一些纯精神体的存在。如果再坚持几千年，让那些精神体形成意识的话，恐怕局势就和现在完全不一样了。”西月闻言点了点头。一个星球产生高智慧生命体后，走唯物主义还是唯心主义，其实是大历史潮流的选择。唯心主义认为精神在物质之前，唯物主义则是相反，两者谁对谁错？说实话，至今连宇宙联邦的高级学者都说不清楚，因为没人能知道盖亚是先有了星球核心之后产生了意识，还是现有的精神意识从而聚集了星球核心。唯心主义盛行则会导致宗教繁多，大家也会更追求个人的升华，也更容易产生高强度的生命体。相反，唯物主义初期的路线大多会弱化个体，追求物质进化，导致科技方面突飞猛进。不了解这星球历史的西月则有些好奇，听着智能的解释，一旁的吃瓜女也兴致勃勃地听着。智能则继续道：“这个星球很早以前君权就代替了神权，上位者对超自然艺人的限制甚至迫害，导致唯心主义发展缓慢。以华中为例，在他们中唐时期，皇室对不良人组织的赶尽杀绝，导致这方面人才凋零。中明时期对武当、峨眉、昆仑等这些信仰道家、培养高级生命体的势力进行针对性明暗削弱，限制其发展，让一众没能进化完全的人类根本无法面对后面兴起的唯物主义势力。到了后面，都懂的，邪点这方面的都会被严打，这唯心文明的火苗自然也就熄灭了。”西月听得连连点头，鱼女无瓜则是听得一愣一愣的，不由质疑：“这些都是你编的吧？”西月，那种大趋势下都还能存的有超自然力量。一个星球唯心主义文明想要兴起，必须要有大量真实信仰，由生命的精神意识唤起星球的盖亚意识产生联动，而在生命体大量信仰下，沉睡的盖亚意识便会被驱动，演化出一些真正的土著神明。有了这种精神体做媒介引导，世界的能量波动也会在大量信仰下变得活跃，这也导致个体生命变强。生命变强后，会孕育体内的能量继续成长，而死后这股能量将回归天地，继续加大星球能量的密度，一代代积累，一个玄幻类的世界也就慢慢形成了。但如果信仰被压制，便会朝着完全不同的方向发展。西月也检查过这个星球里是否有存在大型精神体，也就是土著神明的存在，几乎可以说很微弱，只有那么一点点散落在地球各地的不完整精神体，甚至大多连意识都没有，更谈不上改变这个世界了。用玄幻界的说法就是没有神格。但就是这种情况，地球人却能凭借那么一丁点的信仰能量生出超自然的力量，让西月不得不感慨这个星球人的资质超群呀。心中也庆幸，幸好这星球的人长歪了，没朝着唯心主义发展，否则有他啥事呢？唯物主义，领主只要面对土著星球那落后的科技就是，但唯心主义，你很可能要面对那个星球通过信仰诞生的超过10级的土著神灵。当然也不是说唯物主义不好，其实论发展速度，唯物主义远高于唯心主义，但前提是那个星球的人能尽早统一思想，朝着外面进发，否则一个不慎内斗过火，就要从头来过了。地星球现在就处于这种危险的时候，勾心斗角，科技停滞了好几百年，只要再多个引火线，很容易出事。那几个手贱的小子有消息没？ 西月问道。有。智能转换屏幕道，有新闻说瓦坎达西部一个村落发生了一起大型火力追击，具体原因不明，但传闻说那里的士兵看到了复仇者联盟的浩克，还有一坨大变星人。大变星人是什么鬼？鱼女无瓜心中吐槽，嘴上却问道，这新闻应该没人信吧？智能，暂时没人信，但再过段时间就说不准了，不能再等了。西月大手一挥，叫替补人员替上，3天后正式出发。搞定这次任务后，顺带给我把那3个傻逼给带回来。此时远在南非，西月口中的3个傻逼正玩命狂奔当中。干弟，我勒个龟龟，就抢了个小女孩，至于不吗？飞机、坦克抵到齐追，这群狗日的就那么饥渴卖？还不是你？狗哥闻言气得猛翻白眼，老子就知道信你肯定出事，这就是你所说的触发任务主线，这还不叫触发？干弟指了指后面，看看那阵仗，这还要什么才叫触发任务？惹你特么每次都有理。干弟，哥我本来就有理，你要不服，且与我来辩呐。狗哥，我辩你先人，别吵了。卢老爷趴在狗哥肩膀上，望着后面，有些兴奋道：“干弟虽然坑了一点，但不得不说挺刺激的呀。干弟就是人生枯燥，好不容易有了款体验度这么高的游戏，还不追求点刺激，那活着岂不是太没劲了？”本地提议，回头干他们歪的，赞同举手。狗哥一言不发，闷头往前冲。卢老爷表示他没手呀。南非的国土有122万平方公里，绝大部分土地不适合农业种植，但却极为适合野生动物生息繁衍。再加上当地人对野生动物的保护政策，让这片土地充满了原始的气息。你在这片土地上行走，路上遇到什么动物都不稀奇。有时候走着走着，可能就会冒出一头狮子来把你叼走。所以在不是规划区的地方，熟悉这里的行人一般不会轻易下车。但此时却有一群人偏偏没守这个规矩，一路大摇大摆的在路上晃荡着。但奇怪的是，他们虽然大摇大摆，但周围那些啃食 ST 的猎豹、猎狗却仿若没注意到他们一般。几人就这样如幽灵般在这群肉食动物中横穿了过去。仔细一听会发现，他们脚底下没有一丁点声音，就真如那白日幽灵一般。队长，果然有些不大对劲呢。人群中，一个女人轻声对着领头一个独眼中年大汉道，口音细腻，发音的音节很多，但却很明显的粘在一起。除了助词后的断句，基本都是粘着的，很明显是联邦红日区那边的口音。被叫队长的人闻言点了点头。此时他们走过的这条路，到处都是金属残骸和火药、子弹的痕迹，显然是经过一场大战的。周围这些猎狗也是被 ST 吸引过来的，但这大战的痕迹却和以往正常的军队交战有很大不一样。从现场来看，被破坏的一共有5辆装甲车、3辆坦克，还有2架带着加特林的直升机。坦克是标准的 T-72改进版主战坦克，这种坦克源自1973年的苏联区，有着造型简单、可靠耐用的特点，一直在联邦第三方小国里颇为流行，凭借极高的性价比一直没有被淘汰。即便到了后面号称第4次工业革命开始，也只是在材料和火力装置上做了调整，依旧保留了原来的构造，在这些小国之间热销着。作为工业强国之一，这些红日的忍者虽然有点鄙视这种100多年前的设计了，但还是不得不承认，这东西实用性其实并不差，至少不应该被破坏成现在这种模样。队长，您看这个队伍里，其中一个队员很敏捷地跳上了翻过来的坦克，仔细看了一遍后，神情凝重道：“连接的部件被拆卸，炮管被直接暴力的扭弯了，这绝对不是正常火力交战能造成的。”被叫做队长的人眯着眼看了看装甲上面残留的印子，那分明就是一个手指印，但那手指绝对不是人应该有的，而且那手指在装甲上展现的力量有些太过不可思议，到底是个什么玩意抢走了抗体？队长眉头紧锁。队长，您觉得那个浩克的传闻会不会是真的？其中一个队员弱弱地问道。队长闻言，沧桑的脸上那唯一还剩的一只眼睛忍不住往上一翻，那种北美佬歪出来的东西你也信？真有复仇者联盟，还搞什么世界联邦？就叫大美利坚帝国不更好？可队长这手下人望着装甲上的手印，还是有些忐忑道：“应该是非凡者那个杂交队又出什么新品种了吧？”队长叹了口气，猜测道。众人顿时面色一紧。非凡者5大佣兵团排名第2，仅次于排名第1的圆桌骑士。这个队伍采用的基因强化，利用移植动物、昆虫的基因创造出超凡的战士，被行内人戏称杂交队。但实则没人敢小看这个队伍，谁都知道他们背后站着联邦最强的国家和科技团队。不过这群狗热的这次又搞得什么新东西出来？再怎么说，这种徒手拆坦克的实力也太吓人了点吧？那队长，咱们什么办？什么怎么办？队长瞪了问话的人一眼道：“再厉害还不是老样子，根本问题解决不了，就依旧被我们克制。”众人闻言顿时稍稍安心的点了点头。非凡队的战士进行生物改造后，单兵作战能力几乎堪称5个佣兵团里最强的，但由于野兽和昆虫的基因过于狂暴，很不稳定，很多时候他们的队员会失去控制，尤其是在杀戮中的时候。所以为了控制这些队员，那个佣兵团会给每一个超凡战士配备一个操控者，主要靠移植在大脑里的芯片控制对方。一旦队员出现狂暴的情况之时，便可以通过芯片上的电流让其强行冷静下来。而如果还是拼命反抗，操控者甚至可以直接引爆芯片。这种操作模式有点像 DC 里的敢死小队。 但这样对他们这些擅长突袭的隐秘忍者来说，破绽就太大了，因为他们完全可以避开超凡战士，干掉那个操控者，夺取装置，直接引爆超凡者脑袋里的芯片就行。这也导致在5大佣兵团里，可以说超凡者佣兵团最不想遇到的对手就是他们神月兵团。想到此，大多队员都慢慢冷静下来，觉得队长说的有道理。这么多年来，超凡者军团一直在不停的改造，战士的实力虽然越来越强大，但始终换汤不换药。只要他们一天没解决基因狂暴的问题，只要他们还是用的那种老模式，那么自己这一方就永远天克他们。不过有点奇怪，队长摸着下巴道：“情报里说，这次病毒事件极有可能就是他们超凡者组织自己搞的鬼。既然病毒是他们制作的，这种情况他们应该是要消灭抗体才对。可……”队长想到了什么？旁边的女忍者问道。队长摸了摸下巴那性感的络腮胡，悠悠道：“抗体一般都是些普通染病的居民里诞生的，这种情况想要消灭抗体，叫能隐身的变色龙或者能超远程狙击的鹰眼来，不是更好吗？为什么要派一个这么夸张的家伙？难道是为了实验成果？您的意思是？”女忍者感觉队的话里有更深层的忧虑。队长闻言沉默了一下，最后道：“你们说，这次除了我们5大佣兵团外，还会不会有其他势力插足？还能有什么势力？”众队员疑惑。队长顿了顿足，拿出一根烟点燃道：“你们听没听过华中龙族？听过呀，那不是被404了吗？听说现在连盗版都找不到了。”队员说到这里时，看到队长那严肃的神情，顿时噎了一下。队长，您不会真信有那玩意吧？说不准。那队长叹气道：“咱们这队上一任队长不就是在华中走丢的吗？20年都没消息了呀，估计坟头草都2丈高了。”众队员，你说那地方有超自然势力吧？这么多年也没在国际上出现过，而且听说电视剧都不许拍神呀鬼的了。但你说他没有吧？这么多年没有一家派进华中的超凡者能活着走出来的。哎，里面到底是什么情况呀？我好好奇啊！不行，等我老了我也要去走一趟。众队员，这一人队长什么情况？活着难道不好吗？不过那种力量，队员望着装甲上的手印想到，除了北美那种科技异变，应该也没有什么方法可以达到这种程度吧？什么？跟丢了？你们怎么不去吃屎？没油了？是我叫你不带够油的吗？在几十公里外，差不多一个团的规模黑人军队临时驻扎在一片灌草地上。肥胖的黑人将军听着对讲机里的汇报，气愤地怒吼道。一旁在临时帐篷里等待指示的普拉多也是一脸无语。飞机被跑没油了，该说不愧是美漫最 man 的男人吗？他们这个团服役的直升机用的是涡轮轴发动机，用的油也是航空煤油，能在追人时被跑没油，他也是服气。士兵，你确认那抗体还安全的在那怪物手上？骂了近乎半个小时，肥胖的黑人将军终于关掉了对讲机，转身一脸严厉地问着普拉多：“是的，我非常确定。”普拉多连忙回道，但眼中却露出一丝古怪之色。那天的小女孩被抢了之后，自己果断识相的没有当时反抗，而是选择汇合了大部队，才开始展开了追击。事实证明，他的选择是正确的。那2个长得像浩克的家伙，战斗力还真对得起他们的长相。他们这个团追击到如今，几乎只剩下现在这些大头兵了。装甲部队和配备的直升机几乎被干了个干净。团里唯一剩下的那架直升机，如今只敢远远的看着，生怕靠近就被一飞石给干下来。其实他不明白自己这些人还死跟着人家干什么。将军口里一直骂骂咧咧的鄙视人家，只知道跑。他其实很想知道，人家要是不跑了，站在原地等你，你敢咋样哦？之前20多架 T-72外加10几架直升机远程重火力的支援，还是被人家干得稀碎。现在一个个手里小米加步枪，就是追到人家了。你叫士兵上，士兵敢上吗？而且很奇怪，处于这种境地了，将军居然没有请示军事支援，连路过军事点都没有选择去补充一下物资，好像是在刻意避着什么似的。而且还严令他们2个不许透露那几个怪物携带抗体的事，理由是上面已经将这事列为一级机密。可既然上面已经知晓这件事了，凭这事的重要程度，为什么到现在还没有支援到来？他总感觉这事儿透露着古怪。普拉多将军背着手语重心长道：“你是安古列部族的后裔，身上流着最优秀的追猎者血脉，现在飞机跟丢了，追踪那几个怪物，夺回我们国家，希望就寄于你一个人身上了。”普拉多闻言立刻抛下心中的疑惑，连忙立正敬礼：“是，将军，我一定竭尽所能。”那就好，将军满意的点了点头，但转身之时，眼中却闪过一丝阴冷之色。我去，那狗日的飞机总算没影子了。狗哥忍不住趴在沙地，大口喘着粗气。此时烈日当空，沙子的温度，埋条蛇进去，说不定都能烤熟。但狗哥却毫不在意，毕竟在火星上，什么样的沙子他没睡过。看我说什么来着？甘地得意道：“这模式就跟侠盗飞车一个样，咱们硬拼的话，军队只会越来越多。多跑跑，等罪恶值一消，我们又可以出去浪一波了。”浪你大爷！狗哥没好气道：“说转头打的是你，看到人家人多围过来了，认怂逃跑也是你。现在连侠盗飞车那一套都搬出来了。你咋啥都有理呢？狗屁！”甘地没好气道：“那几十辆坦克咱都撸袖子干掉了，本地会害怕那些拿枪的士兵？我只是觉得特效太逼真，不太习惯而已。”这话一出，一旁的狗哥也微微沉默。说实话，这游戏画面做得好没毛病，但这方面就没必要做得那么逼真了吧？之前一不小心一巴掌拍飞一个士兵，直接就碎成了渣渣，满手的不可描述之物，差点让他没直接吐了出来。 这游戏还真敢做，这样子后面过不了审吧？要不回去叫卢老爷给工作室提个建议，就算画面短时间改不了，起码打个码啊！想到那些血腥画面，狗哥心中一阵不适，便避开了这个话题，随即转头问道：“喂，你们谁有带营养液啊？感觉消耗好大，又累又渴的。”这不说还好，这一说只感觉口干舌燥，越发的难受了。甘地也咂巴了下嘴，看了看旁边那个一脸虚弱、嘴唇干裂却又不敢吱声的小女孩，顿时心中微微一紧。按道这游戏做的也太逼真了吧！一个 NPC 神情这么生动，本地的母性都泛滥了。于是转头看向了卢老爷：“老爷，你有没有带？谁没事带那个啊？”卢老爷没好气道：“那玩意不是你们这些搬砖的应该随身携带的吗？你看老爷，我身上哪里像能藏东西的地方？”说着扭了扭自己果冻一般的身躯。甘地闻言觉得也是，一坨玩意没手没脚的，总不能塞星号里面吧？那为什么我感觉你一点也不可呢？狗哥闻言也好奇的看了过来：“就是啊，你们精灵在外面塞久了不及时补充水分，不是要塞成干的吗？我都等了好久了。”我去！卢老爷顿时气得浑身发绿。我说你们两个狗币时不时盯着我干什么呢？原来打着这注意。靠，老爷我现在这副模样了，你们都下得去口？2个牲口呀，样子是难看了点，口感好就行了吗？甘地摸着下巴道：“你们是不会得逞的。”卢老爷气呼呼道：“为啥哎？”两人同时好奇道：“呵，这你们就不懂了吧？我们化形期的精灵是可以储存能量的，老爷我之前存了不少呢，所以尽管放心，你们2个牲口饿死了，老爷我也不会死。”哎，两人顿时眼睛一亮，甘地更是咂嘴道：“我说你囊凯这么大一坨哟，还以为你是进化了，原来是胀多了哟。你这个晃了晃的，应该都是水分吧？会不会像骆驼那样，背上骆峰里割开就是水呢？神他妈骆驼峰里是水，里面是脂肪好不好？你们有没有点常识啊？看没看过10万个为什么？可你这个看起来确实像是存了水的样子呀！你们想干什么？”卢老爷这时候才后知后觉的感觉到了危险，往后缩了2步，警告道：“我警告你们啊，公然残害活着的玩家是被禁止的。哪个要残害你吗？”甘地尽量温和的笑道：“这不你看大家都可得走不动了脉，你让我们戳2个洞，万一流出来的不是水，我们就到此为止，你觉得怎么样？不怎么样。”卢老爷拼命摇晃着身体：“我说你这玩意儿怎么那么没有大局观哎，非要逼我们用强脉？你们……”卢老爷只感觉满是委屈，最终弱弱道：“那万一是水呢？是谁你不分享？”甘地顿时怒道：“你看她那个小女孩，一张俊俏的黑脸都可白了，你忍心卖？”卢老爷回去以后一定要写一篇长文，痛斥精灵一族前期的弱势，这群绿皮狗实在欺人太甚。这个路线会是哪里？帐篷里看着普拉多追踪的地图，皱眉问道。普拉多闻言连忙指着地图道：“前进有5个路线，但其他4个路线都是沙地，只有前往津巴布韦的那条路是绿原地，沙地上没看到脚印，从他们体型来看应该是不可能掩盖脚印的，之前也没掩盖过，所以为了隐藏行踪，多半是走的这条路，而且也只有这条路后面会有水源。”不错，将军满意的点了点头。那在绿原和丛林里，你有把握追踪到他们吗？以他们的体型，问题应该不大。好，非常好。将军拍了拍对方的肩膀，不愧是猎人部族的后代，这次要是能夺回抗体，我给你请一等功。而且听说你一直想调瓦坎达的城市驻守军团，这次如果事情办好了，我给你做主，批你调了。谢将军。普拉多顿时兴奋了起来。如今局势动荡，家里只有1个妹妹和残疾的老父亲，他一直放心不下，想要深调回去，这次终于有机会来了。但随即又想到那2个怪物的可怕力量，普拉多又心情忐忑了起来。这万一后面没能夺回抗体，自己调任的事是不是就黄了呢？而且他心中也是十分想夺回抗体的，毕竟谁也不想在瘟疫的恐慌环境中生活。见到对方的表情变化，胖子将军笑了笑道：“不用担心，我已经申请了支援，你只要专心追踪位置就好。到时候我们只负责协助支援，主力对付那2个怪物的另有其人。”一听有支援，普拉多脸上精神一振，顿时敬礼道：“将军请放心，我一定不会让您失望的。”不过心中也好奇，长官一副自信满满的模样，这次支援的部队是哪个军团呢？在他心里预估，想要拿下那2个怪物，起码得3个重装团起吧，而且还不算那个一直没出手的大变新人，总感觉不是那么乐观呀。好了，你先下去准备吧。将军笑眯眯道：“是，长官。”等普拉多退下之后，将军走进桌上那张地图，敲了敲桌子：“津巴布韦啊，可不能让他们躲进那个势力范围了。队长们搞什么呀？”还没到。这话诡异，声音更诡异。谁能想到，这看起来肥头大耳的黑人胖子嘴里居然冒出了一个女人的尖锐声音，又在暗地里说谁坏话呢？一道戏谑的声音突然在胖子将军身后响起，将军瞳孔一缩，瞬间左臂肌肉一胀，猛地朝后面一肘挥去。这将军看似肥头大耳，一脸肾虚的模样，此时一肘子挥出去，却看起来声势极为威猛，还未打到对方，那股力量就在空气中形成了肉眼可见的波痕。这一下打到人脑袋上，说能把人脑骨打碎，恐怕都有人信。但面对这凶猛的肘击，身后那人却丝毫没有闪躲的意思，只身形微微一侧，一双白嫩细腻的手轻轻一格，躲开了胖将军肘击的触力点， 在力道错开以后，利用指尖的柔劲细微控制着对方力道轨迹，达到一个角度后，突然猛地向下一压。这般高明无比的擒拿手法，瞬间改变了胖将军的力道，为己所用。被改变力道的胖将军只感觉身体顿时失去了平衡。胖将军显然也是搏击经验丰富之人，立马挺直腰板，想依靠马步和腰力强行稳住身形。但身后那人见状，右手立刻往对方关元穴一戳，很显然是非常高明的截穴技巧。胖将军遭了这么一下，只感觉腰间凝聚的力道瞬间一下就散了，整个人再也无法立足，失去了平衡。而下一秒，手臂立刻传来一股剧痛，因为身体失衡，对方引导了自己开始肘击的力量，一伸一拉之间，让自己左手瞬间脱臼。高手！胖将军反应过来，这次自己恐怕是遇到硬手了，随即眼色一狠，身体往前一拉，任由自己手臂脱臼。肥胖的身形极为敏捷的一个翻转，反身跳起就是一记狠力的袭击。这般能强忍脱臼的疼痛，展开反击的身手和忍耐力，很难想象是一个满肚肥肠的黑人胖子能做得出来的。对方也被这决断力十足的袭击逼得松开了手，双手格挡后飘然后退，卸力手法也是极为高明。不错，身手没有退步嘛。奈奈子听到这个熟悉的清冷声音，将军浑身一颤，忙看向对方，只见刚才一招之间让他脱臼的居然是一个看起来才1米5几的瘦弱女孩，顿时顾不得手上脱臼的伤，连忙半跪道：“春水队长，起来吧，自己把手臂接上。”是。胖将军闻言如释重负的松了口气，缓缓地站起了身来，右手在左臂上一拉一接，只听咔嚓一声，手臂便被接回了原处。很显然是一个训练有素的战士，接臂的过程中一声不吭。甘地他们如果看到了，一定会大呼一声：“好汉子，你很不错。”那刚才弄断胖将军手臂的女子夸赞道：“前夫扮演这个将军5年，还能保持如此高的战斗水平，难得。”谢队长夸奖。胖将军欣喜地应了一声后，又好奇地问道：“春水队长，指示里不是说这次带队的队长是高岛队长吗？”女子闻言淡声道：“组织很重视这次任务，除了高岛外，还派了我与神木队长一同协助完成这次任务。”神木队长也来了。胖将军顿时震惊，这次任务组织居然一下派出了3名队长级人物。神月军团一共由7个队伍组成，除了总团长外，队长级人物就是军团里最强的战力，人人都有以一敌百的特忍级实力。一般的任务都很少会派出这种级别的人参与，一次性派出3名的，团实力恐怕20年里也没出现过这种情况了。春水，组织对你发过来的那绿巨人战斗视频很有兴趣，这次我们的任务不光是夺取抗体，还要活捉一个那绿巨人的样本回去宫上面研究。顿了一下道：“速度要快，如果那真是超凡者的新产品，绝对不能让他们顺利的回收回去。这是给我喝的吗？”小女孩望着那绿巨人递过来用树叶小心翼翼捧着的绿色汁液，眼中露出好奇和慌乱，但也有些渴望，因为那绿色的液体带着一股沁人心脾的芬芳，她只闻了一下就感觉浑身毛孔张开，有种清鲜到骨子里的感觉。那应该很好喝吧？喝吧，小妹妹哦，这是你们一族的命运，你们终将为王。狗哥在一旁忍不住捂头，这家伙真的是一个30岁的程序员，怎么感觉这么中二啊？可代价是什么呢？小女孩望着那绿色的汁液，眼中露出渴望，但又有些害怕。这小孩子会说华中文？狗哥一愣，最关键的是特么的台词还接上了，古尔丹死不瞑目呀！代价是一切。甘地露出了自以为很邪恶，但其实很猥琐的笑容，这把小女孩吓得不断往身后修女身上缩去。你们这群恶魔！已经虚弱的奄奄一息的修女虚弱道，心中则是暗道：上天为什么要这么对待自己这一族？眼看着化解危机的希望诞生了，居然会杀出这种恶魔来摧毁他们的希望？那是恶魔的血液吧？这群恶魔是想感染真主派下来拯救他们的圣女吗？修女如此想到。她是信教的，虽然是个医生，但她并不完全信仰唯物主义那一套，心中则是坚信真主的存在。在她看来，这个奇迹的小女孩定然是真主赐予拯救他们脱离苦难的天命圣女，要不然为何那么多人中就她抵抗了病毒？而且后面还有这种面目狰狞的可怕恶魔来抢夺她。这2个恶魔的出现，让她更加坚信了真主的存在，心中不断祈祷真主会派遣坐下英勇的战神来驱散这些邪恶。而作为信徒，她要做的就是在天神战士降临之前保护住这个天神赐予的希望。刚才他看得清楚，这群恶魔从那个长得丑陋如恶心污秽物的恶魔身上挤出了恶魔的血液，这是在诱惑圣女喝下恶魔之血，这是妄图污染这纯洁的圣女，自己绝对不能让其得逞。滚开，恶魔们，我们是不会喝的。修女鼓起最后一点力气呵斥道。甘地一愣，虽然听不懂这娘们讲什么，但很明显通过手势也大概猜懂了意思，于是撇撇嘴道：你不喝我喝，好心当成驴肝肺。狗哥闻言白眼一翻，神他妈听了你那个台词会认为你是好心，说不定认为喝了会和你一样变绿呢。混蛋，你果然还是想自己喝吧。卢老爷顿时猛地跳起了1丈多高，瞬间一屁股坐到甘地脸上，螺旋果冻的肉体如一团橡皮泥一般糊了甘地一脸，如狗皮膏药一般紧贴着他。我叫你在我身上戳洞洞，叫你喝我精灵汁，好喝不？我让你喝个够。甘地顿时被捂得天昏地暗，手中捧着的汁液也洒了一地，其中有一部分洒在了修女衣服上， 旁边的小女孩看到了，忍不住往哪里凑了凑。修女见状，连忙拦住小女孩道：“哦，亲爱的，不要受到恶魔的诱惑，要坚定自我。只要我们不动摇，这群恶魔就伤害不了我们。根据他们教章上面讲述，恶魔是无法伤害不会下地狱的人的，只能通过这种诱惑手段。一旦抵御住了诱惑，经受住了考验，这些看似强大的恶魔根本伤害不了他们一分一毫。不要吵了！”狗哥看着打闹的两个二逼，顿时忍不住捂头，指着前面道：“前面好像有条河。”有河？卢老爷身体一松，甘地趁机一把把他从脑袋抓了下来，瞪大着眼睛望着前方。说实话，这精灵汁虽然闻起来挺好喝，但毕竟是从一坨类似某种东东身上挤下来的，喝起来还是有点心理压力。能正常补充水分，自然最好。卢老爷也一蹦一蹦的跳到前面，摇眼一看，见真有条河，顿时兴奋了起来。虽说自己体内的储存还有一些能量，可自己身体经过一天奔波，明显小了一圈，再这样下去，说不定真是塞成干的结局。而且旁边这牲口荤素不忌，惹急了，真把自己当口粮了，那恐怕自己下线了，会做好几天噩梦。咦，还有斑马？看来不光有水，还能打点野味来吃呀！甘地兴奋道：“斑马肉好吃吗？”狗哥听起来有些异动，这游戏设计的那么逼真，连烟的味道都能做出来，那纯天然野味会不会也能做出来？野味都好吃，你没看贝爷家族都直播10几代了？有道理。狗哥难得的赞同了甘地的说辞，点了点头，但随即又疑惑道：“那斑马旁边那玩意是什么？”好像是狮子。视力最好的卢老爷回道：“狮子。”两人一愣，虽然不像卢老爷那般看得那么清楚，但他们大概也能看到那两个东西几乎是站在一起在喝水，狮子和斑马站一起喝水。这游戏还是不严谨呀。咦，好像他们在说什么？卢老爷往前凑了凑道：“你能听懂他们说什么？”两个绿泰坦顿时震惊。导师说的，精灵只要静下精神是可以听懂兽语的，兽语并不像智慧生命语言那般复杂，我们精灵天生掌握一级聆听的天赋，所以能分辨兽语。我去，我就说你们放牧效率怎么那么高，太 bug 了吧！严重要求制作方削弱整改。甘地抗议道：“整改你美！”卢老爷忍不住白眼一番：“你们这群搬砖的，一开始狂赚积分的时候怎么不说要整改？不过这可能真是个弊端，也不知道是不是游戏打多了。我最近路过隔壁，看到他家那只肥猫的时候，好像有时候有种也能听懂他说话的感觉。我去，真的假的？”狗哥一愣，想起了自己在健身房一如往常的操作，顿时好奇道：“你听到那猫说什么了？”卢老爷回想了一下昨天路过隔壁时的场景，当时他出门吃午饭，看到隔壁那只肥猫好像在阳台上做一些不可描述的动作，于是忍不住停下来多看了2眼，却突然听到那猫道：“沙比，看你买啊！”顿时晃了晃脑袋，将昨天那诡异的场景甩出脑外，喃喃道：“应该是错觉吧。”甘地则是指了指前面道：“错觉就下线了，多睡2觉。本地比较好奇前面一头狮子和斑马能说什么，赶快翻译翻译。”待老爷靠近点听听，将那诡异的场景甩出脑外后，卢老爷蹦进了点，静下心来，开始仔细聆听。斑马，明天这个时候会有一群斑马路过这里。狮子，消息可靠吗？斑马，应该可靠。狮子，知道了，回去待命吧。斑马，这是最后一次了，我不想再做这种事了。狮子，你有选择吗？大概就是这么个意思吧。卢老爷语气古怪道。甘地和狗哥听完后一脸汗颜，暗道：麻蛋，大自然界也这么黑呀？咦，前面不光有河，好像还有个工厂仪。这工厂的 logo 怎么看起来有点眼熟啊？狗哥突然道。正在感叹世间黑暗的甘地一愣，闻言望过去，也远远看到了一个比较现代化的建筑物。甘地顿时兴奋起来，又有新的 NPC 可以接触了，自己这次不能那么鲁莽了，一定要这个地界打探清楚。卢老爷则是在意狗哥眼熟2个字。你说 logo 眼熟？有点。狗哥有些不确定道。卢老爷想了想道，那应该是仿的商标吧，毕竟这么大一款游戏，不可能随便一个任务地图里的商业建筑 logo 都要原创吧，一般都是把一些大众 logo 稍微修改一下就拿来用了。是吗？狗哥疑惑的歪了歪头，暗道，可自家那方叔叔的企业好像不怎么大众呀。